10 years ago, a shocking murder case occurred in Mucheon. The victims were two female students, Bo-young and Da-eun. The perpetrator was Jong-woo, their classmate. They were caught in a complicated love triangle. Bo-young had a crush on Jong-woo, while Jong-woo and Da-eun were dating. Rejected, Bo-young left heartbroken. To the bewilderment of their classmates, Jong-woo didn't chase after her to stop her. Therefore, that same night, Bo-young met a tragic end. Even more shocking was that there was a second victim that night, and that victim was none other than Da-eun, Jong-woo's girlfriend. The next morning, someone saw Da-eun and Jong-woo arguing on the street about their relationship. The police believed this was Jong-woo's motive and went to his house to arrest him while he was still half asleep. Jong-woo was taken to the police station in a dazed state. His only reaction was to insist he wasn't the murderer. However, the police found a lot of evidence incriminating Jong-woo. The car's trunk still had traces of the victim's blood. Muddy shoes were found in Jong-woo's house, along with witness testimony showing Jong-woo driving away from the scene. All of this was enough for the police to convict Jong-woo, but they still hadn't found the victim's body, so they tried various psychological methods to help Jong-woo recall the events. However, it was all in vain. Then, Jong-woo's trial proceeded as planned. The pressure from the police and the public kept Jong-woo in a state of disorientation. Therefore, Jong-woo decided to follow the police chief's advice and plead guilty to receive a reduced sentence. As a result, Jong-woo was sentenced to 10 years in prison because it was his first offense. Jong-woo's parents were devastated. His father always believed his son was not the culprit, but his mother had gradually accepted the truth. Jong-woo was sent to prison to serve his sentence. Due to his gentle nature, Jong-woo was beaten up several times a day by his fellow inmates. He himself didn't want to live anymore. He wondered why he had fallen into this situation. This question fueled his determination to get out and find out the truth. Jong-woo began to fight back against the bullying inmates, so they were no longer as aggressive as before. Throughout Jong-woo's time in prison, only his father visited him. His mother never appeared once. Although deeply disappointed, Jong-woo knew his mother had suffered greatly. Besides his father, a friend regularly visited Jong-woo. Na-gyum did this consistently for 10 years. Na-gyum informed Jong-woo of everything that happened outside the prison. Jong-woo's father passed away 5 years after his son's imprisonment. Jong-woo's family restaurant was sold to another owner. Jong-woo's mother, unwilling to leave, asked to stay and work as a chef. Meanwhile, Na-gyum became increasingly beautiful. She has now become a famous model, but her feelings for Jong-woo remain unchanged. Finally, Na-gyum waited for the day Jong-woo was released from prison. She waited outside the prison early to pick him up. On the way, they reminisced about the past. They were the best couple in their class. They had both been granted special admission to medical school, but due to unforeseen circumstances, Jong-woo's future was lost. Naum, on the other hand, found a different path for herself. Now, Jong-woo is no longer the gentle teenager he once was. He has become a cold and taciturn man. Na-gyum understands Jong-woo very well. When he was released from prison, she immediately took him to visit his father's grave. Afterwards, she took him home to change clothes before going to see his mother. At this time, Jong-woo's mother was working at a restaurant. For the past 10 years, she hadn't left anywhere, and there was someone just as patient as Jong-woo's mother. His father, Bo-young. Bo-young's father had always been closely monitoring Jong-woo's mother. He was just waiting for Jong-woo to be released from prison so he could ask where Jong-woo had hidden his daughter's body. He also sought revenge by preventing Jong-woo's mother from working in peace. Jong-woo's mother could only endure it. She always believed her son was at fault and wanted to make amends for him. At that moment, Jong-woo entered and asked Bo-young's father to leave his mother alone to work, telling Bo-young's father to target Jong-woo instead. Bo-young's father angrily grabbed Jong-woo and asked, "Why are you back here? Where did you hide my daughter?" Jong-woo gave the same answer as 10 years ago. He remembered nothing about the case. Fortunately, someone intervened. Otherwise, a fight would have broken out. The mother quickly pulled Jong-woo outside. She didn't want to see her son, so she chased him away. The others felt the same way. They all wanted Jong-woo to disappear from Mucheon town. Jong-woo had no choice but to leave. That evening, on his way home, Jong-woo unexpectedly ran into his old friend Min-soo, who was now working as a nurse at a hospital. Min-soo was overjoyed to see Jong-woo released from prison and invited him to a convenience store for noodles. Min-soo then called another friend in their group, a police officer, to inform him of Jong-woo's release. They wanted to celebrate Jong-woo's release together. As they entered the supermarket, they ran into a group of thugs. Min-soo, fearing Jong-woo would get into a fight, quickly intervened to mediate. The thugs then ignored them and looked for someone else to pick a fight with. They targeted a drunk man, unaware that he was the new police captain, Captain No, who had recently transferred to Mucheon town. Jong-woo ran to warn Captain No, and the two quickly dealt with the thugs. Afterwards, Afterwards, the police arrived to take them to the station. Jong-woo also reunited with his police friend. At midnight, when Jong-woo returned home, he found his mother still waiting for him. Outwardly, she appeared indifferent, but deep down, she loved her son dearly. His mother advised him to move elsewhere. Jong-woo wanted his mother to go with him, but she wanted to stay there for the rest of her life to atone for her son's mistakes. The next day, Jong-woo's mother went out early to buy groceries for her son. Unfortunately, it started raining, so she hurried back home. Unexpectedly, an accident occurred on the overpass. She fell from the bridge onto a car and was seriously injured. Bystanders panicked and quickly called the police and ambulance. Jong-woo's mother was quickly taken to the hospital. Meanwhile, Jong-woo woke up and couldn't find his mother. Unexpectedly, someone came to visit him. It turned out to be Suo, the son of the police chief. He was the one in charge of investigating Jong-woo's case 10 years ago. Suo greeted Jong-woo and gave him a painting before leaving. Jong-woo didn't understand what was happening. He went inside and opened the painting. Unexpectedly, it depicted a warehouse, the scene of a crime from 10 years ago. Jong-woo remembered something. He rushed to the warehouse to check. The haunting memories from 10 years ago resurfaced, causing him immense pain. He couldn't remember how he had killed anyone. Suddenly, someone arrived. They informed Jong-woo of the bad news. His mother had just been hospitalized. Jong-woo was worried and wanted to see his mother immediately. So, Suo asked Ha-sol to take Jong-woo to the hospital. Jong-woo asked Min-soo about his mother's condition. Min-soo said that Jong-woo hadn't regained consciousness yet. Jong-woo felt uneasy. He wanted Min-soo to look after his mother because he didn't believe it was just an accident. He had to investigate thoroughly. Meanwhile, the police were at the scene of Jong-woo's mother's crime. Some irresponsible officers were about to conclude the case was an accident, but Captain No thought things weren't that simple. He examined the victim's fall posture and the location of her injuries, deducing that she might have been pushed, so he collected the security camera footage from the area to take back to the station for review. He discovered a suspicious man in the footage who looked hurried, holding an umbrella but not opening it in the rain. The man was wearing a hat with the word Mucheon on it, a hat that everyone in the town owned. The investigation began to stall. Everyone went to lunch to relieve the tension. However, Officer Byung-moo stayed behind and tried to secretly destroy the footage, but Captain No caught Byung-moo red-handed. It turned out the man in the video was Byung-moo's father. Captain No angrily dismissed Byung-moo from the case. Afterward, Captain No led his team to the suspect's workplace, but Byung-moo's father wasn't there. He was currently at the Mucheon restaurant meeting with some friends. Ha-sol felt something was strange. She wondered why they could ignore Jong-woo's mother's accident. The owner advised Ha-sol not to meddle in other people's affairs, especially not to mention Jong-woo's name in front of the townspeople. Just then, Jong-woo appeared at the restaurant. He had come to find Bo-young's father because he believed Bo-young's father was responsible for his mother's death, but Bo-young's father vehemently denied the crime. Jong-woo then noticed mud on his father's shoes and questioned him about where he had been that day. Bo-young's father was drunk. In a fit of rage, he grabbed a glass bottle and smashed it on Jong-woo's head. Everyone wanted to kick Jong-woo out, but he stood there like a statue. Jong-woo was determined to get an answer. Bo-young's mother reluctantly took her husband and left. Just then, the police arrived at the restaurant. Captain No wanted to know what had happened, but everyone remained silent. Byung-moo turned to his father and asked where he had been. The father insisted he knew nothing. Captain No invited Byung-moo's father to the station for questioning. Jong-woo wanted to go with the police, but Captain No said the police would handle it. Jong-woo's job now was to take good care of his mother. After returning to the police station, Captain No went to the police chief's office. The police chief reminded Captain No of some survival rules in Mucheon town. Captain No began to feel that this place had many problems and was not as peaceful as it seemed on the surface. Later, Captain No questioned Byung-moo's father. Captain No mentioned that his son was also a police officer, so he hoped Byung-moo's father would cooperate with the police and give a statement. Byung-moo's father agreed. However, no matter what Captain No asked, he tried to lie or omit parts of the answer. Captain No wondered if Byung-moo's father was covering up for the killer, but Byung-moo insisted that there was no killer in this town other than Jong-woo. This statement surprised Captain No. To this day, Captain No still knows nothing about the case from 10 years ago. Captain No began to investigate case. He realized that Jong-woo was a brutal murderer. He gradually developed a dislike for Jong-woo, but he also wondered why Jong-woo could be so nonchalant. He then concluded that one cannot judge a person by their appearance. After that, Captain No decided to go and meet Jong-woo. Coincidentally, Jung-woo also wanted to ask about the progress of the investigation in his mother's case. However, now that Captain No knew Jung-woo was a criminal, he couldn't treat him normally anymore. Captain No almost attacked Jung-woo. Luckily, the police chief arrived in time. He invited the two into the house to talk. Byung-moo and his father were also there. Jung-woo immediately asked Byung-moo's father if he saw anyone push Jung-woo's mother. Byung-moo's father wanted to get up and leave because he had already told the police chief everything, but the police chief wanted him to repeat it so that the newcomers wouldn't be curious. Byung-moo's father said that Jung-woo's mother fell on her own, but Jung-woo couldn't believe this. Byung-moo and his father then left. To avoid questioning from Jung-woo, the police chief advised Jung-woo to calm down. He said that no one in this town had a reason to harm Jung-woo's mother, but Jung-woo felt that he himself was the reason. Afterward, Jung-woo returned with Captain No. Jung-woo didn't want his mother's case to be dismissed like that, but Captain No couldn't disobey the police chief's orders. Captain No instructed Jung-woo to go to the station to collect his mother's belongings and then leave. Jung-woo returned home sadly. On the table were snacks that Na Jeom had prepared for him. She had also left a note reminding him to take care of his health so he could look after his mother. Jung-woo was incredibly happy that there was still someone who cared about him. The next day, Jung-woo went out. The police chief was waiting at the door. He wanted to accompany Jung-woo to the hospital to visit Jung-woo's mother, but Jung-woo wanted to go to the police station to collect his belongings. The police chief enthusiastically gave Jung-woo a ride. On the way, Jung-woo had a question. How far had the police searched 10 years ago without finding the bodies of Bo-young and Da-eun? The police chief suddenly stopped the car. He didn't want to talk about the case from 10 years ago anymore. This was good for both Jung-woo and the townspeople. Jung-woo didn't understand why the police chief was like that, but he didn't feel comfortable asking further. Later, when Jung-woo arrived at the police station, he unexpectedly ran into Chief Investigator Kim. It was the same man who had interrogated and coerced Jung-woo years ago. Jung-woo was still haunted by the experience. Chief Investigator Kim showed contempt for Jung-woo, sarcastically asking what a criminal was doing at the police station. Byung-moo explained that Jung-woo had come to pick up some things for his mother. Jung-woo didn't want to cause trouble, so he reluctantly left. After picking up the things, Jung-woo went to the places where his mother had bought them to investigate the truth about her accident. However, everyone was uncooperative because they believed Jung-woo was a murderer. Captain No secretly followed Jung-woo, both to observe him and to investigate the old case once more. Based on the current situation, Captain No could see that everyone in town hated Jung-woo, and they all had a motive to harm Jung-woo's mother. He then followed Jung-woo's mother's movements to see who had been in contact with her. He stopped at a convenience store on the street and checked the security camera footage. He discovered someone secretly following Jung-woo's mother. It was Bo-young's mother. Next, Bo-young's mother informed someone else. This was definitely a premeditated murder plot. Captain No wanted to find out who the ultimate culprit was, so he asked Byung-moo to arrange a meeting with Bo-young's mother. Captain No and Byung-moo then tricked Bo-young's mother into lending them her phone. After checking, Captain No discovered that the person Bo-young's mother called at that time was Bo-young's father. Therefore, he is definitely involved in the case. Captain No only needs to confirm that Bo-young's father was present at the scene. Captain No returned the phone to Bo-young's mother and quickly went back to the police station with Byung-moo. Through the previously collected footage, they had indeed found Bo-young's father. Captain No immediately sent people to arrest him and bring him back to the station for questioning. On the other side, Jung-woo still hadn't given up his suspicions about Bo-young's father, so he decided to go to the other party's house to confront him. However, Jung-woo discovered that Byung-moo's father was also there. Jung-woo couldn't go inside, so he stood outside eavesdropping on the conversation. Inside, Byung-moo's father asked Bo-young's father why he pushed Jung-woo's mother. Bo-young's father showed no remorse whatsoever. He said that she and her son deserved it because her son was the murderer. Byung-moo's father didn't accept that reason because Jung-woo's mother was innocent. If he did that, Bo-young's father would also become a murderer. Bo-young's father remained unconcerned. Jung-woo's father angrily left. That evening, Bo-young's father became anxious. He began gathering evidence and disposing of it. Jung-woo continued watching from outside the house. Jung-woo called the police, reporting that he knew who the culprit was. Bo-young's father took the evidence to the hill, intending to bury it all. Suddenly, Jung-woo appeared and snatched the backpack containing the evidence. Bo-young's father demanded its return, but Jung-woo refused. Bo-young's father tried to hit Jung-woo with a hoe. Fortunately, the police arrived in time. They subdued and escorted Bo-young's father to the station. Although Jung-woo was the one who reported the crime to the police, Captain No didn't thank him at all. Instead, he believed that Jung-woo was the reason things turned out this way. Meanwhile, Ha-Sol went out of town for some fresh air. She reminisced about the past, when she was a medical student. Due to a major mistake, Ha-Sol decided to stop her studies. She sought a peaceful place to find solace, and chose Mu Town. It was truly peaceful there. Seeing an adorable dog, Ha-Sol approached to take pictures. She accidentally noticed that the dog's toy bone looked very much like a human bone. Ha-Sol asked the old man where he found the bone. The old man pointed her to a drainage ditch in the field. Ha-Sol took a few more pictures and then excused herself to leave. Late at night, Ha-Sol couldn't sleep. She kept wondering about the bone. Finally, she decided to the police station for forensic examination. Coincidentally, Ha-Sol met Jong-woo there. Jong-woo had overheard Ha-Sol's conversation with Byung-moo. Jong-woo then asked Ha-Sol where she had found the bone. Ha-Sol had nothing to hide, so she pointed out the location to Jong-woo. Jong-woo decided to search the sewer. Ha-Sol, curious, followed him. Jong-woo advised her to go home first, asking if she wasn't afraid of being with a murderer like him in the middle of the night. Ha-Sol was a little scared, but Jong-woo gave her a strange sense of security. She felt he wasn't like a killer. Then, Jong-woo followed the flow of the sewer and found the abandoned high school. Jong-woo had never been there before, even though it was in the next town. He tried searching around. Ha-Sol also risked following him. She wondered why he was still searching for the victim's body, even though the case was closed. Jong-woo said that the case might be closed, but it would always haunt him. As long as he hadn't found the truth, he couldn't live a normal life. At this point, Captain No began questioning Bo-young's father. Bo-young's father remained silent and demanded to see the police chief, but Captain No was very shrewd. He subtly hinted to the police chief outside that he shouldn't let emotions affect the investigation. The police chief reluctantly left. Captain No continued to take Bo-young's father's statement. He even prepared food and alcohol to try and get Bo-young's father drunk. Knowing that Bo-young's father was an alcoholic, Bo-young's father fell for Captain No's trick. Soon, Bo-young's father was drunk and confessed the truth. He admitted that he was the one who pushed Jong-woo's mother. The entire police station rejoiced that the culprit had confessed. Just then, Byung-moo received a call from Ha-Sol. She informed him that Jong-woo had found a body in the sewer. The body had Bo-young's name tag on it. The police immediately set off for the scene. Captain No went ahead because he feared Jong-woo would destroy the evidence. He climbed down into the sewer to check the situation. There, he found Jong-woo kneeling and apologizing to the skeleton. Captain No angrily grabbed Jong-woo and questioned him about his intentions. Jong-woo was in great distress and refused to answer. Captain No lunged at him and pointed a gun at his head, but Jong-woo showed no fear. Only when the police arrived did Captain No release Jong-woo. Captain No dragged Jong-woo out of the sewer so the forensic team could go down to collect evidence. Bo-young's mother was brought to the scene, but upon seeing her daughter's body, she fainted on the spot. The police chief quickly arranged for Bo-young's mother to be taken to the hospital. The others remained at the scene to investigate. Later, Captain No took Jong-woo to the warehouse where the crime occurred 10 years ago. Captain No made Jong-woo reenact the scene. Unexpectedly, this time, Jong-woo insisted he was not the murderer. The crime scene that Jong-woo staged that year was entirely based on police instructions. Captain No was furious, believing Jong-woo was still stubbornly denying guilt. Jong-woo knelt down, begging Captain No to help him get justice and catch the real culprit. Captain No still didn't believe Jong-woo. Jong-woo tried to explain what happened that day. He and Bo-young had talked at this spot, and then Bo-young angrily left. However, Jong-woo stopped Jong-woo, saying to let them rest in peace. Then Jong-woo and Ha-Sol went back to the police station to give their statements. Ha-Sol explained in detail how she and Jong-woo found Bo-young's body. Just then, Chief Investigator Kim arrived. Upon seeing Jong-woo, he became furious and wanted to know where Jong-woo had hidden the other body. Jong-woo was extremely angry. Finally, the police let Jong-woo go home. On the way back, Jong-woo couldn't stop thinking. He wondered why the body had appeared in such a distant place. Ha-Sol was also released from prison. She immediately went to Suo and told him what had happened. After hearing it, Suo suddenly had an epileptic seizure. Ha-Sol was extremely worried. She quickly asked the maid to bring the key to the greenhouse. Then she called an ambulance to take Suo to the hospital. In the ambulance, Suo said something strange to Ha-Sol. Jong-woo was not the culprit. Ha-Sol was very confused. After arriving at the hospital, Suo asked Ha-Sol to go back to the greenhouse and get some paintings for her. But Ha-Sol was not to tell anyone about this. Ha-Sol was confused, but still agreed. However, when Ha-Sol returned, the paintings had disappeared. It turned out that the police chief had discovered the paintings and taken them away to be destroyed. He caught Ha-Sol sneaking around the house and stopped her to talk. He told Ha-Sol to keep her distance from his son from now on. Ha-Sol understood, nodded and asked permission to leave. The police chief seemed temporarily temporarily relieved. Meanwhile, Jong-woo was investigating the case on his own. Among the old belongings his mother had kept, Jong-woo found some gas receipts. On the day of the crime, his car was almost out of gas. If he didn't refuel, he couldn't have driven to the abandoned school to dispose of the body. Jong-woo rushed to the gas station. He wanted to ask the owner if anyone else had brought the car in to refuel besides himself. But as soon as the owner saw Jong-woo, he became angry and chased him away. Na-jom asked why Jong-woo had to suffer like this. Clearly, Jong-woo just needed to move to a new city and live a new life with his mother. But Jong-woo didn't want to escape the past. He was determined to find the correct answer to the case from years ago. Only then would his future life no longer be haunted. After saying this, Jong-woo turned and left. Na-gyom was deeply distressed. Na-gyom had been in love with Jong-woo for 10 years without knowing it. Meanwhile, the police chief visited his son at the hospital. Suo had been given a sedative and was fast asleep. The police chief inquired about the situation from Chief Park. It turned out the two knew each other from before. Chief Park had treated Suo for many years. The police chief reminded Chief Park about Jong-woo's case from 10 years ago. Chief Park's expression immediately changed. Just moments before, Chief Park had received a threatening message. The sender claimed to know that Chief Park was the murderer. These things made Chief Park extremely anxious. Later, when Chief Park returned home, he unexpectedly received a message from his wife, a congresswoman. She wanted him to come to her office to talk. Chief Park reluctantly went. The congresswoman noticed her husband looked tired and asked him what had happened, but Director Park lied, saying nothing was wrong. Just then, his phone received a message. Director Park hesitated for a long time before daring to pick it up to read, but it was just a work message. He breathed a sigh of relief. On the other side, the police had the results of the forensic examination. The skeleton found was indeed Bo Young's. However, there was a strange detail. The forensic team couldn't find Bo Young's underwear. They believed this might be a rape-murder case. Captain No wanted to continue investigating in this direction, so he immediately instructed his team to conduct an investigation. That evening, the villagers gathered at Jong-woo's house. They forced Jong-woo to leave town. Jong-woo said he had unfinished business and had to stay a while longer. He would leave on his own when he finished, but everyone still tried to use forceful measures to make Jong-woo leave immediately. Fortunately, Min-soo came to his friend's rescue. Min-soo also chased the villagers away. Afterward, Jong-woo led Min-soo to the warehouse and explained the confusing details of the case. However, Min-soo suddenly changed her attitude. Min-soo said she didn't want to hear Jong-woo's explanation anymore. She just wanted everything to be over and didn't want to bring it up again. Min-soo even declared that if Jong-woo continued like this, they no longer needed to be friends. After saying this, Min-soo turned and left. Jong-woo was extremely disappointed. Meanwhile, the police chief returned home to find Bo Young's mother waiting there. She asked the police chief to find a way to save her husband. However, Bo Young's father had confessed, so the police chief couldn't do otherwise. Bo Young's mother turned to reproach the police chief, saying that they were responsible for Bo Young's death. It turned out that 10 years ago, she and the police chief had an affair. Bo Young had accidentally discovered it, which is why she ran away from home and was murdered. Now, Bo Young's mother is using this to threaten the police chief, putting him in a very difficult position. However, he refuses to compromise. After leaving a threat, Bo Young's mother turns and leaves. The police chief is furious. Meanwhile, Captain No is analyzing the details of the case. 10 years ago, a witness testified that Jong-woo drove away from the scene at 10:30 in the evening. Captain No calculated the travel time. He figured Jong-woo needed at least an hour to dispose of the body and return. However, Daewon's grandmother testified that she heard Jong-woo's voice when she spoke to her granddaughter on the phone. That was around 11:30 at night. Jong-woo couldn't have returned to the scene so quickly. Captain No has two hypotheses. 1. Jong-woo has an accomplice. 2. Jong-woo isn't actually the killer. To clarify this, Captain No decides to visit the warehouse. He unexpectedly encounters Jong-woo there. Jong-woo was also conducting his own investigation and came to the same conclusion as Captain No. Jong-woo offered to cooperate with Captain No, but Captain No maintained that Jong-woo was still a suspect. The two argued for a while, almost coming to blows. Just then, Ha-sol appeared. She was looking for Jong-woo and Captain No, and luckily they were both there. Ha-sol believed Suo was a witness because she had seen a painting Suo had drawn, a scene of the warehouse on the night of the crime. However, the painting had disappeared, and Ha-sol couldn't find it. Captain No didn't believe her without convincing evidence. Furthermore, he thought Suo had drawn the painting from his imagination, and they couldn't consider it a clue. Captain No advised Ha-sol to go home because it was dangerous to be out late at night. Jong-woo knew Captain No was referring to him, so he also left. On the way back, Jong-woo was lost in thought. He wondered who else might be involved in the case. Why hadn't the police mentioned any accomplices murders that year. Why were they so quick to convict only him? Jong-woo couldn't bear it if this wasn't thoroughly investigated. The next morning, Jong-woo went to the police station. He asked the police chief to reopen the investigation. Chief Investigator Kim angrily chased Jong-woo away, but Jong-woo insisted, persuading the police chief that they now had more clues and there might have been accomplices in that case. Jong-woo said he wanted to find the real culprit who harmed his two friends. The police chief asked Jong-woo to come to a private room to talk. The police chief advised Jong-woo to let his two friends rest in peace, but Jong-woo would never forget what happened that year. It was for that reason that he lived to see this day. He wanted to clear his name and find the bodies of his two friends. But now, if the case is reinvestigated and new clues are found, the police chief will be held responsible for the previous investigation errors. He didn't want to lose his job, so he ignored Jong-woo's pleas. Jong-woo could only angrily turn and leave. Unexpectedly, the police chief received a threatening message from Bo-young's mother. One thing after another happened, giving the police chief a huge headache. He had no choice but to call Chief Investigator Kim to his office and order the release. Chief Investigator Kim quickly left and released Bo-young's father. As soon as he was out of the cell, Bo-young's father wanted to find Jong-woo to take revenge. He gathered several men in town to plan Jong-woo's assassination. Byung-moo's father advised his two friends to reconsider, but they were determined to carry out their plan and refused to listen to his advice. Byung-moo's father felt extremely worried. Meanwhile, Ha-sol went to the hospital to visit Suo, but didn't find him in his room. Director Park said Suo had been transferred to another hospital. However, on her way home, Ha-sol saw Suo passing by in a car. His demeanor was unlike the Suo Ha-sol knew. Ha-sol felt extremely strange, so she decided to go to Suo's house to confirm. She met Chief Hun in front of the house and asked him if Suo had been discharged from the hospital. Chief Hyun insisted that Suo hadn't been discharged yet. Chief Hun even led Ha-sol into the examination room. Ha-sol thought she had mistaken him for someone else, so she was about to ask the chief for permission to leave. Unexpectedly, she met someone who looked very much like Suo, but this person looked more mature and polite. Through the chief's introduction, Ha-sol knew that this was Jeono, Suo's younger brother, who had just returned from abroad. Jeono stared intently at Ha-sol, making her feel embarrassed. Ha-sol quickly excused herself and left. Afterward, the police chief acted strangely towards his son. He didn't want Jeono to return to the country, but when Jeono heard that Jong-woo had been released from prison, he wanted to return to see Jong-woo one last time. The police chief forbade his son from seeing Jong-woo, but Jeono completely ignored his father's words. The police chief could only angrily leave. Meanwhile, Jong-woo was still running around seeking help. He hoped someone would assist him in reinvestigating the case. Jong-woo went to Byung-moo for help, but the latter only vaguely agreed. Byung-moo made an excuse about having work to do and quickly left. Jong-woo didn't give up. He continued to seek out Captain No. Jong-woo knew that Captain No also wanted to reinvestigate the case, but his superiors wouldn't allow it. Captain No said that he had a different purpose than Jong-woo. Captain No only wanted to find the remaining victim's body and catch the accomplice, but Jong-woo felt that was enough for them to cooperate. Jong-woo willingly recounted everything he remembered about the day of the crime. Because of Jong-woo's sincerity, Captain No gradually lowered his guard. Captain No simply said he would reinvestigate the case himself and that Jong-woo should stay put. Later, Jong-woo returned home and found Bo-young's father waiting there. Bo-young's father pointed a gun at Jong-woo and demanded that Jong-woo pay for his daughter's death, but Jong-woo insisted he was not the killer. Then Jong-woo told his father about his new discovery. 10 years ago, the murderer had an accomplice. Bo-young's father began to hesitate. Jong-woo continued to manipulate him psychologically. When Bo-young was alive, she had always been abused by her father. Jong-woo wasn't the only one at fault. Therefore, Jong-woo asks Bo-young's father for a chance to find out the whole truth. Bo-young's father still fires at Jong-woo but misses. At this moment, Captain No suddenly appears. Bo-young's father immediately flees. Captain No wants to catch him, but Jong-woo decides to spare him. Bo-young's father gets into a car with his accomplices and leaves. He regrets not being able to kill Jong-woo. Inside, Captain No helps Jong-woo bandage his wounds. Captain No wonders why the townspeople all want to drive Jong-woo away, yet he stubbornly stays. Jong-woo asserts that he wants to clear his name. Even if the investigation reveals that he is the real culprit, he will accept living the rest of his life to atone for his crime. Finally, Captain No understands Jong-woo's feelings, so he decides to cooperate with Jong-woo to reinvestigate the case. The next day, Jong-woo led Captain No to the warehouse. Jong-woo's mother had helped him keep the evidence from the case 10 years ago. This evidence had been overlooked by the police during the investigation. At that time, the police couldn't find find Bo Young's backpack, but Jong-woo clearly remembered that Bo Young always wore her backpack. So Jong-woo decided to go to Bo Young's house to ask for more information. As soon as she saw Jong-woo, Bo Young's mother became angry, but faced with Jong-woo's resolute attitude, she reluctantly invited him in. Jong-woo spoke concisely, asking the mother if she knew where her daughter's backpack was. Bo Young's mother didn't know. She asked what he was up to. Jong-woo admitted that he was reinvestigating the case because he wasn't the murderer. Bo Young's mother wondered why he hadn't said that 10 years ago. In fact, Bo Young's mother had always been very fond of Jong-woo because he always helped Bo Young escape from her abusive father. If Jong-woo had just said he wasn't the culprit, she would have believed him. But now it was too late. Bo Young's mother could only advise Jong-woo to leave town quickly. That was the best thing for everyone. Jong-woo silently left. Meanwhile, Captain No received a new forensic report. Chief Investigator Kim requested that the case be closed so the family could hold the funeral. However, Captain No found something suspicious in the forensic report: a fracture in the victim's pelvic area. This was a sign of sexual assault. Adding to that, the missing underwear. They couldn't rule out the possibility of a rape murder. Therefore, Captain No sought the police chief's request to reinvestigate the case. However, the police chief didn't change his mind. He even mentioned Captain No's use of alcohol to coerce the suspect into confessing. Hearing this, Captain No was at a disadvantage. He had no choice but to follow the police chief's arrangements. Meanwhile, Ha-sol went to see Director Park. She asked him to arrange a meeting with Suo. Director Park said that the police chief had instructed that no one be allowed near his son. He also wondered why Ha-sol insisted on meeting Suo. Ha-sol only smiled without directly answering. She had promised Suo to keep it a secret. She inadvertently noticed that the star on the table was the same star on her shirt. Director Park had deliberately placed it there to test Ha-sol's loyalty, suspecting she knew something about what happened 10 years ago. But Ha-sol seemed innocent and unaware, so Director Park lowered his guard. However, as soon as Ha-sol left, Director Park received a message from a mysterious person. The content was similar to the previous message. The sender knew that Director Park had once killed someone. Director Park quickly chased after Ha-sol to confirm if she was the mysterious person. But Ha-sol's attitude showed she wasn't the mysterious person. Even so, Director Park remained suspicious. Therefore, he arranged for Ha-sol to meet Suo at the hospital that evening. He would take her there, and incidentally, he wanted to investigate more about Ha-sol's character. That evening, Ha-sol arrived at the meeting place with Director Park. Unexpectedly, the two were being secretly photographed. This detective was sent by Director Park's wife to follow her husband. Meanwhile, Jeon-woo went to Jong-woo's house. Jeon-woo was extremely distressed to see the insulting messages directed at Jong-woo on the gate. Jeon-woo repeatedly apologized to Jong-woo. Unable to meet Jong-woo, Jeon-woo went to Byung-moo's house. However, Jeon-woo only met Byung-moo's father. Upon seeing Jeon-woo, Byung-moo's father immediately panicked and tried to chase Jeon-woo away. However, when Jeon-woo said he would go to the police station, Byung-moo's father reluctantly called his son. They arranged to meet at the Mucheon restaurant. Later, Byung-moo's father brought Jeon-woo to the Mucheon restaurant. Everyone there was extremely surprised, their faces showing worry, but outwardly, they still cheerfully greeted Jeon-woo. Suddenly, Jeon-woo burst into laughter. He felt that the people there were so fake. He couldn't stand it and wanted to go find Jong-woo. Everyone started to feel confused. Byung-moo and Min-soo immediately chased after Jeon-woo. They wanted Jeon-woo to stay and chat for a while, but it seemed Jeon-woo hated these two friends very much. He insisted on leaving. Before leaving, he said he would send them gifts soon. Hearing this, the two were extremely frightened. Meanwhile, Chief Hyun was still trying to get his son out of the country, but Jeon-woo was on probation for drug trafficking, so the airport refused his visa. The chief angrily called home to see if Jeon-woo was still there, but no one answered the phone, so he decided to go home for a visit. Unexpectedly, Jong-woo opened the door and walked in. Jong-woo requested that the police chief reinvestigate the old case. The reason was that he had remembered everything and could confirm that he did not kill anyone. The police chief had no choice but to call Chief Investigator Kim to bring the case file from 10 years ago. It contained complete evidence proving that Jong-woo had murdered his classmate. However, Jong-woo presented his argument. The bloodstains on his car trunk could be staged, and the murder weapon could be fabricated. The police chief pointed to the most convincing evidence: the blood-stained shoes found in Jong-woo's house. But Jong-woo insisted he had never worn those shoes because his mother had bought them for him as a birthday gift, but they didn't fit his feet. The police chief still didn't believe Jong-woo. Suddenly, Jong-woo mentioned Jeon-woo. Jong-woo questioned the police chief about why he had suddenly sent his son abroad that year. The police chief was furious upon hearing this. Chief Investigator Kim quickly pulled Jong-woo outside. That evening, evening, Jong-woo returned home to find Jeon-oh waiting at the gate. The two friends rushed to embrace each other. Jeon-oh repeatedly apologized to Jong-woo, even dragging a large suitcase. Unexpectedly, inside the suitcase was what Jong-woo had been searching for: Bo-young's missing backpack. Jeon-oh had buried it in the greenhouse for 10 years. Jong-woo felt bewildered. He asked why Jeon-oh had Bo-young's backpack and what exactly had happened that year. Jeon-oh couldn't utter a word. Jong-woo decided to open the backpack himself. It was indeed Bo-young's backpack. Inside was her phone, but the battery was dead. Jong-woo remembered he still had the charging cable for that phone. He quickly ran to the storage room to search for it. Luckily, his mother hadn't thrown the charging cable away yet. The phone could also be charged and turned on. Jong-woo read Bo-young's messages to her mother. Only then did he realize that Bo-young had discovered her mother's infidelity and had run away from home. Inside the house, Jeon-oh was in immense distress. Suddenly, Byung-moo's father and Min-soo's father broke into Jong-woo's house without permission. Jeon-oh quickly grabbed his backpack and hid in Jong-woo's room. Jeon-oh put all the contents of his backpack on the bookshelf. Byung-moo's father discovered Bo-young's book and realized Jeon-oh was holding the evidence. The two men knocked on the door and urged Jeon-oh to come out, but Jeon-oh shouted loudly, telling them to leave. Jong-woo heard the shouting and immediately hid his phone in the ceiling of the storage room. Then he ran into the house to check the situation. There, he saw Jeon-oh being dragged away. He tried to rush to rescue Jeon-oh, but Byung-moo's father immediately hit him on the head with a pot, rendering him unconscious. Later, the two men took Jeon-oh to the police chief's house. Bo-young's parents accidentally witnessed this. When they questioned it, they were told that Jeon-oh was drunk. The police chief quickly sent the two men away. He then took Jeon-oh inside and sat down with his two friends to discuss the matter. They believed Jong-woo knew something from the backpack Jeon-oh had brought. They decided they needed to quickly resolve this problem. After some discussion, an argument broke out. The police chief threatened not to help the two men anymore. Byung-moo's father had to back down. He took Min-soo's father home first. The police chief was very troubled. At this time, Ha-sol was brought to Suo by Director Park. After Director Park left, Suo asked Ha-sol if she had found his paintings. Ha-sol had to apologize. Suo insisted that she find the paintings and give them to Jong-woo, as they were extremely important to him. Ha-sol agreed to search again. Director Park overheard their conversation. He asked what Suo was referring to, but Suo ignored him. Director Park intended to ask Ha-sol, but she also kept it a secret. Afterwards, Director Park had no choice but to take Ha-sol home. They then said goodbye in the parking garage. Ha-sol wanted to go home by motorbike. On the way back, she saw an ambulance in front of Jong-woo's house. She immediately approached Captain No to ask about it. Captain No took the opportunity to ask Ha-sol to handle Jong-woo's hospital admission procedures because he needed to go into Jong-woo's house to investigate the crime scene. Captain No found nothing in the room except dirt, sand, and broken pieces of a plant pot. He decided to search the warehouse because he remembered that this was where Jong-woo kept important evidence. Captain No found a very old phone charger and immediately realized something. He immediately searched the warehouse, but he searched until morning without success. Captain No, sitting helplessly and resting, accidentally noticed a gap in the ceiling. He reached up to check and luckily found Jong-woo's hidden phone. Finally, Captain No had found a useful clue. When Jong-woo was discharged from the hospital, the first thing Captain No asked wasn't about his health, but whether Jong-woo had seen the video on the phone. In the video, Bo-young and his friends were drinking in the warehouse on the night of the crime. The friends included Byung-moo, Jeon-oh, and Min-soo. Jong-woo was nowhere to be seen in the video. At this point, Jong-woo wanted to reclaim the phone. Captain No was angry because he couldn't understand why Jong-woo still wanted to protect his friends like that. Jong-woo said he wanted to find them to clarify things first because he believed his friends wouldn't harm him. Captain No advised Jong-woo to face reality. The evidence was right in his hands. Jong-woo sent Captain No out to think alone. At that moment, Jong-woo discovered a strange book on the shelf. It was Bo-young's book, the one Gyeon-oh had placed there the night before. There was something inside. Jong-woo showed it to Captain No. Unexpectedly, it was Bo-young's missing underwear. Captain No advised Jong-woo not to trust anyone from now on. Captain No promised to investigate the truth and give Jong-woo a satisfactory answer. Meanwhile, Jeon-oh was planning to run away from home. The police chief was waiting downstairs. Jeon-oh approached his father, begging him to allow him to reveal the truth that had been hidden for 10 years. He only wanted to go to the police station to confess. Jeon-oh didn't want to continue living like this cowardly. The police chief said that Jong-woo had taken the blame for Jeon-oh. Now that Jong-woo was out of prison, it was all in the past. But Jeon-oh said that Jong-woo hadn't forgotten the past. Unable to reason with his son, the police chief decided to lock him in the attic room, waiting until Jeon-oh had thought things through before releasing him. Later, the police chief went to find Jong-woo. He he coincidentally met Captain No there as well. Jong-woo and Captain No had conspired to keep it a secret from everyone, so they conspired to deceive the police chief. The police chief felt something was amiss, but could only turn and leave. Afterward, Jong-woo followed Captain No's plan. He invited two friends to his house. Jong-woo texted Byung-moo that his house had been burglarized. Byung-moo was with Min-soo, so they both came to Jong-woo's house. Jong-woo offered his two friends drinks. Jong-woo secretly made a phone call and put it on speakerphone so Captain No could hear the conversation. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Jong-woo was attacked again. His two friends once more suggested that Jong-woo move somewhere else. However, Jong-woo couldn't leave with peace of mind because he hadn't yet uncovered the truth about Bo-young and Da-eun's deaths, nor had he cleared his own name. Captain No calculated that enough time had passed. He called Byung-moo and told him to return to his post. Therefore, Byung-moo and Min-soo excused themselves and left. At this point, Jong-woo told Captain No he could return to the house. It turned out they wanted to collect saliva samples from the two men to compare with the DNA sample found on Bo-young's underwear. However, they only managed to obtain Min-soo's saliva sample. Jong-woo also voluntarily cooperated by providing a saliva sample. Corporal Yang hadn't drunk water, so he couldn't provide a sample for testing. Captain No would handle that later. Afterwards, Captain No invited Byung-moo out for a meal. However, Byung-moo was very wary. Only after everyone had finished eating and left did Captain No manage to retrieve the spoon Byung-moo had used. He almost got caught by Byung-moo. On his way back to the police station, Byung-moo received another order from the police chief. The chief told Byung-moo to carefully monitor Captain No. So when Captain No took the DNA test sample to the Forensic Institute, Byung-moo secretly followed him. However, Byung-moo unfortunately lost track of him. Captain No successfully reached the Forensic Institute and obtained the test results. The underwear of Bo-young indeed contained the DNA of both Byung-moo and Min-soo. Captain No was furious. On his way back with the results, he discovered Byung-moo was following him. Captain No intended to lure Byung-moo back to the police station and arrest him, but unexpectedly, Byung-moo took a different route. Then, Byung-moo suddenly drove his car directly into Captain No's car. While Captain No was stunned, Byung-moo tried to steal the DNA test results. Captain No immediately beat Byung-moo up. Captain No couldn't believe that such a person could become a police officer. Byung-moo wanted to fight back against Captain No, but he was no match for Captain No. Byung-moo was knocked into the lake by Captain No. Byung-moo kept shouting for help because he didn't know how to swim, but Captain No let Byung-moo swim for a while. He called his colleagues to inform them that they had caught the first suspect. At this time, Jong-woo went to look for Jeon-oh and accidentally met Ha-sol. Unexpectedly, Jong-woo knew the house's door code. Jong-woo and Ha-sol went inside but couldn't find Jeon-oh. Suddenly, Ha-sol heard sounds coming from the attic room. The door was locked. Jeon-oh was inside. Jong-woo broke down the door to rescue Jeon-oh. Now Jeon-oh was very confused. However, Jeon-oh remembered what happened 10 years ago at the warehouse. At that time, Jeon-oh and his friends were all drunk. Byung-moo and Min-soo had raped Bo-young. Jong-woo couldn't believe what he had just heard. He angrily grabbed a hammer and ran straight to the hospital to find Min-soo to demand an explanation. Min-soo, terrified, ran down to the parking garage but was eventually caught by Jong-woo. Initially, Min-soo refused to confess. Jong-woo said he had found enough evidence. Unexpectedly, Min-soo remained unrepentant and blamed everything on Jong-woo. Jong-woo didn't understand what Min-soo was saying. Min-soo claimed that if Jong-woo had gone drinking with them 10 years ago, nothing would have happened. Jong-woo was extremely upset that he was still being unfairly accused. He only wanted to know if they had killed Bo-young. Min-soo admitted that he and Byung-moo had raped Bo-young, but denied killing her. Therefore, there must be another culprit. Just then, the police arrived. Min-soo immediately pleaded for help and accused Jong-woo of murder. The police arrested Min-soo for rape. After the police took Min-soo away, Jong-woo collapsed helplessly to the ground. He had been betrayed by the friends he trusted most. Na-gyeom witnessed this scene and couldn't help but feel sorry for his loved one. Meanwhile, the police chief reviewed the video and the DNA test results. There was no DNA sample from Jeon-oh. A heavy burden was lifted from the police chief's heart. He decided to let the case be investigated according to proper procedures. Outside, the police chief met Captain No, who was escorting Byung-moo to the station. Byung-moo begged the police chief for help, but the chief showed no concern. The police chief handed over all investigative authority to Captain No. Much to Captain No's surprise, Captain No then led Byung-moo into the interrogation room, but Byung-moo exercised his right to remain silent. Captain No reminded Byung-moo that the police now had sufficient evidence, and therefore, remaining silent would only harm himself. However, Byung-moo still refused to confess, wanting to wait and see how his father would handle the situation. As expected, Byung-moo's father and Min-soo's father came to see the police chief. They asked the police chief to release their sons, as they were on the same side anyway. But since Keanu's DNA wasn't found on Bo Young's underwear, the police chief was no longer afraid. At first, Min-soo's father threatened them loudly. After knowing about this, he and Byung-moo's father knelt down and begged the police chief for help. The police chief promised to help them one last time out of friendship, but everyone had to follow his arrangements. Then the police chief called Chief Investigator Kim to his office. With the new evidence, Byung-moo and Min-soo could only be charged with rape. At the same time, the police chief still wanted to keep Jong-woo's murder charge. After all, Jong-woo had already served his sentence. Moreover, admitting his mistake could lead to the police chief being demoted. Meanwhile, Ha-sol was watching over Jeon-oh when he suddenly went berserk. He pushed Ha-sol down and fled the house. Ha-sol, worried, informed Jong-woo. The two had to go together to find Jeon-oh. Fortunately, Jong-woo found Jeon-oh on the street. However, Jeon-oh was in a state of panic. Jeon-oh repeatedly apologized to Bo Young. As soon as he saw Jong-woo, he turned to apologize to Jong-woo as well. Perhaps Jeon-oh had lived with the trauma of hiding the truth for 10 years. Jong-woo encouraged and reassured his friend. Finally, Jeon-oh promised to go to the police station to confess. Jong-woo was worried about letting Jeon-oh go alone, so he decided to go with him. Later, the two went to the police station together. Captain No was also struggling to find Jeon-oh to take his statement because Jeon-oh was a key witness in the case from years ago. Captain No silently thanked Jong-woo. Afterwards, Captain No took Jeon-oh into the interrogation room. Chief Investigator Kim did not hide his hatred towards Jong-woo, but he didn't have time to argue here, so he immediately tried to inform the police chief. Meanwhile, the police chief had just returned home. He discovered that someone had broken into the attic room and released Jeon-oh. He was about to go look for Jeon-oh when he unexpectedly received a call from the female congresswoman. She wanted to invite the police chief to dinner to discuss something. The police chief was in a hurry but couldn't refuse. While he was waiting for the congresswoman at the Conf restaurant, he suddenly received a call from Chief Investigator Kim. Only then did he know that Jeon-oh had gone to the police station to confess. Therefore, he immediately wanted to go there. But just then, the female congresswoman arrived. The police chief had to sit down. The congresswoman inquired about recent events in Mucheon. The police chief recounted the situation and promised to resolve everything satisfactorily. The congresswoman seemed satisfied. After that, the police chief excused himself and left immediately. Outside, he called two friends. He told them to go find Captain No and try to stall for time. The two friends were bewildered, not understanding what was happening. The police chief couldn't explain it clearly at the moment. He contacted Chief Investigator Kim and asked him to prevent Jeon-oh from confessing. Upon receiving the report, Chief Investigator Kim immediately rushed into the interrogation room. He demanded that Captain No come outside to resolve the situation. Captain No felt confused. Chief Investigator Kim dragged Captain No outside. It turned out that Byung-moo's father and Min-soo's father were causing a disturbance outside. They demanded that Captain No release their sons. The statute of limitations for sexual offenses had expired, and the police could no longer detain Byung-moo and Min-soo. Captain No felt helpless. At this point, Jong-woo came to Captain No's rescue. The two fathers showed no shame about their children's actions and continued to insult Jong-woo. They also claimed that their son had become such a bad child because he associated with Jong-woo. Jong-woo was furious and almost attacked both old men. Fortunately, Captain No intervened in time. Captain No instructed his subordinates to take the two old men home first. Afterwards, Captain No invited Jong-woo to have a drink to calm down. Then Jong-woo came up with a plan. He asked Captain No to arrange a meeting between him and Byung-moo. Captain No felt uneasy, but Jong-woo persuaded him until Captain No agreed. Captain No asked Jong-woo to act out a scene with him. The two pretended to fight to create a reason to imprison Jong-woo in the detention room. Jong-woo was placed in the same room as Byung-moo so they could talk. Byung-moo still offered no sincere apology. He didn't even regret what he had done to Bo Young. Jong-woo realized he had chosen the wrong friend. He never expected Byung-moo to be such a scoundrel. Byung-moo still blamed Jong-woo. It turned out Byung-moo was always jealous of Jong-woo's perfection. He was annoyed that Jong-woo had many admirers, so he only wanted to ruin Jong-woo's life. Hearing this, Jong-woo angrily grabbed Byung-moo. But at that moment, Byung-moo remembered Captain No's words. If Byung-moo hit Byung-moo, all attempts to clear his name would be useless. Jong-woo calmed down and asked Byung-moo who was driving that day, because Byung-moo knew that neither he nor Min-soo knew how to drive. But Byung-moo still refused to confess. Jong-woo could only sigh helplessly. On the other side, Captain No returned to the interrogation room, but he couldn't find Jeon-oh anymore. Only then did he realize he had been tricked. He immediately called Chief Investigator Kim. Chief Investigator Kim said that he had taken Jeon-oh out to eat, but in reality, he had taken Jeon-oh to the police chief. At this point, the father was manipulating his son's psychology. If Jiano went to prison, there would be no one to take care of his younger brother. Seeing Suo locked up in the hospital, Jian-Oh was extremely worried. But seeing his younger brother bewildered and not understanding what was happening, Jian-Oh became even more distressed. Finally, Jian-Oh decided to listen to his father. The police chief brought his son back to the interrogation room. Captain No immediately took Jian-Oh's statement. However, Jian-Oh's mental state was extremely unstable. Moreover, Jian-Oh changed his statement at this time. Captain No knew that the police chief had influenced his son, so Jian-Oh advised Jian-Oh to think carefully, but the police chief quickly came in and demanded that the interrogation end. Captain No could only laugh helplessly. When Zhang-Woo knew that Jian-Oh had changed his statement, he immediately went to find Jian-Oh to ask for clarification. However, Jian-Oh was now trying to avoid him. Zhang-Woo chased after Jian-Oh and was unfortunately hit by a car. Jian-Oh worried about Zhang-Woo but didn't turn back. At midnight, Jian-Oh called his father while he was on his way home. Jian-Oh informed his father that he was at the warehouse where the crime occurred 10 years ago. The police chief was distraught. He rushed to the warehouse and witnessed Jian-Oh hanging himself. The police chief knelt down in grief and wept loudly. Later, police arrived at the scene to take Jian-Oh's body to the forensic department. Captain No advised the police chief not to grieve too much, but he couldn't calm down. He went home and found his son's suicide note. Inside, Jian-Oh spoke of the truth about the case from years ago and the trauma he had endured for 10 years. He hoped his father would come forward and tell the whole truth. The police chief angrily went to the cell. His son's death was partly connected to Byung-Moo and Min-Soo. Ignoring the cameras, he strangled Byung-Moo, asking if he had any other secrets. Byung-Moo finally confessed that 10 years ago, after Bo-young was raped, Jian-Oh arrived at the warehouse and found Bo-young lying on the ground in a state of panic. Jian-Oh angrily demanded to know what Byung-Moo and Min-Soo had done to Bo-young, but they couldn't explain. Suddenly, Bo-young went mad. She tried to escape the warehouse but unfortunately slipped and fell, hitting her head on the stairs. The other three were extremely panicked. Jian-Oh was about to call the police when Byung-Moo stopped him. At that moment, another person arrived at the warehouse. In his suicide note, Jian-Oh mentioned that person was the police chief. Returning to reality, the police chief released Byung-Moo and left the cell. On the way back, he recalled his purpose for coming to the warehouse 10 years ago. Meanwhile, Na Jeom went to Bo-young's parents' house. Two people were extremely surprised. Nagom informed Bo-young's parents about the progress of the investigation into their daughter's case. The police had discovered that Bo-young had been raped before her death. Hearing the name of the killer, Bo-young's parents were shocked. They immediately rushed to the Mucheon restaurant to find the killer's parents. At the restaurant, Byung-Moo's father and Min-Soo's father were preparing money. They wanted to use the money to compensate Bo-young's parents and then shift all the blame onto Jong-woo. Suddenly, someone threw a stone at the window. Bo-young's parents arrived. The two old men immediately ran out and knelt down to apologize. They said that their son was young at the time and couldn't control his desires. But they didn't kill Bo-young because Byung-Moo and Min-Soo both loved her very much. The two old men still tried to frame Jong-woo as the murderer. Bo-young's father was furious that these people still showed no remorse. The two men then insisted that they were very remorseful. They even promised to use all their possessions to atone for their mistake. Hearing this, Bo-young's father became even more furious. He shouted, asking if money could buy back his daughter's life. Then he picked up a brick and was about to hit the two of them, but in the end, he couldn't bring himself to do it. Bo-young's mother stood beside him, only able to weep for her daughter's fate. Afterwards, Bo-young's parents angrily got into their car and left. They vowed not to let this matter go easily. At this time, Ha-sol observed everything from afar. She felt utterly disgusted with these people. Ha-sol wanted to tell Jong-woo about this, but when she called, she received news that Jong-woo was in the hospital. Ha-sol immediately went to the hospital. Upon arriving, Ha-sol found Nagyum taking care of Jong-woo. Neither of them knew what relationship the other had with Jong-woo. However, Ha-sol, observing Nagyum's attitude and actions, realized that Jong-woo was very important to Nagyum. Meanwhile, Bo-young's parents arrived at the police station. They were invited into a private room by Chief Investigator Kim for a discussion. Unexpectedly, he concluded that Bo-young and the other two had consensual sex. Bo-young's father couldn't accept this. Chief Investigator Kim reminded Bo-young's parents not to forget who the real murderer was. Jong-woo was the one who should bear all the responsibility. The next morning, Byung-moo and Min-soo were released on bail. Before they left, Captain No gave them a warning. Captain No said he would bring them back soon. However, they showed no fear or remorse. Byung-moo even promised to return to work soon. Captain No was furious. He couldn't let the criminals continue to live so freely. Captain No investigated from morning till night night, hoping to find some clue. After Captain No watched the interrogation video of Jong-woo, he became even more certain that Jong-woo had been tricked into signing the confession. He also discovered that the police had overlooked a suspicious detail: 2 shovels in Jong-woo's car. Captain No wanted to question Jong-woo about the shovels, so he drove to the hospital to find him. At the hospital, Jong-woo had just woken up and was trying to leave. Jong-woo called Captain No to pick him up. Captain No advised Jong-woo to wait in the hospital room, but Jong-woo went outside to wait for Captain No. Jong-woo asked about the progress of the investigation. Captain No took Jong-woo home and slowly explained everything to him. Jong-woo immediately lost his composure when he knew that Jeon-oh was dead and the 2 scoundrels were free. Captain No tried to calm Jong-woo down. This was a crucial moment. If Jong-woo acted rashly and made a mistake, the case from 10 years ago would be forgotten again. Then Captain No showed Jong-woo the investigation results he had gathered over the past period. Captain No wanted to ask Jong-woo if he remembered any details. Jong-woo tried to recall, but he only remembered meeting Da-eun at the warehouse at 11:30 in the evening. Afterward, Jong-woo was arrested and taken to the police station for questioning. They pressured him to confess to things he didn't do. At this point, Captain No brought up the new discovery about the 2 shovels to tell Jong-woo. Bo-young was found in the sewer, so Captain No thought these 2 shovels were probably used to dig the grave to bury Da-eun. Furthermore, the killer must have had an accomplice. If Jong-woo acted alone, he wouldn't need 2 shovels. Captain No hypothesized that Byung-moo and Min-soo had buried Da-eun together, but Jong-woo remembered that 10 years ago, neither of them were good drivers. Even with Jeon-oh at the scene, he couldn't have done it. This proves there were other accomplices, and it's highly possible this is the real culprit. Captain No remembers Ha-sol mentioning Suo's painting, but someone has hidden it. This is a crucial clue. Suo is also a witness, but he's currently in the hospital. Moreover, Chief Hun will certainly not allow them to see Suo. Captain No and Jong-woo must find a way to approach Suo, otherwise the case will not progress. After that, Captain No went out to investigate. Jong-woo stayed home, continuing to recall the past and reconstruct the events of the case. However, he still couldn't remember anything more. Meanwhile, the chief is holding Jeon-oh's funeral. People from Mucheon town are coming to pay their respects. The female congresswoman also came to pay her respects. After the female legislator lit an incense stick for Jeon-oh, she was invited into a private room to speak with the police chief. She signaled to her husband not to enter. Inside, the female legislator brought up the shocking case in Mucheon from 10 years ago. The suspect, Jong-woo, was the son of the village chairman. At that time, the village chairman opposed the female legislator's reforms in Mucheon. The police chief could only choose one side. Ultimately, he chose to side with the female legislator, which is how he obtained his current position. Returning to reality, the female congresswoman told the police chief that this time she would give him a higher position. The police chief immediately understood her meaning. Ha-sol wondered why everyone in Mucheon town had attended Jeon-oh's funeral, but Suo hadn't. Someone explained that Suo was mentally unstable. They were afraid Suo would be shocked to know of his brother's death, so no one dared to tell him yet. Ha-sol still felt something was wrong, but she didn't dare to be curious further. Later, Bo-young's father arrived at the funeral. However, Bo-young's father was very cold. He only lit incense for Jeon-oh and then left. The 2 friends continued to flatter Bo-young's father, hoping he would forgive their son. Bo-young's father also began to consider compromising with the 2 friends. Director Park returned from Jeon-oh's funeral and went back to his office. He still hadn't given up his womanizing ways. He tried to flirt with his patients. Suddenly, Na-gyum opened the door and walked in. Only then did Director Park let the patient leave. Na-gyum sat down and asked Director Park about the proposal to transfer Jong-woo's mother to a large hospital in Seoul. But Director Park pretended he couldn't make the decision himself. Director Park wondered why Na-gyum was helping Jong-woo's mother. Na-gyum frankly replied that it was because she loved Jong-woo. Director Park immediately showed jealousy because he also had intentions of seducing Na-gyum. After Na-gyum left, someone delivered a package to Director Park. Director Park opened it and found a ring. His face instantly turned pale because the ring was the very thing Director Park had lost 10 years ago. At this time, Jeon-oh's funeral had ended. The police chief began his revenge for his son. He went to find Min-soo and took her to the riverbank. The police chief believes that his son ended his own life because of Min-soo and Byung-moo. He removes the black box from the car and threatens to kill Min-soo. Hearing this, Min-soo cries and begs the police chief for forgiveness. In reality, the police chief had no intention of killing anyone. He only wanted to manipulate Min-soo into betraying Byung-moo. He deliberately asks a question, suggesting that Min-soo wasn't the real culprit and that everything was orchestrated by Byung-moo. Min-soo is gradually controlled by police chief Hyun. Min-soo Min-soo promises to report to Byung-moo. The police chief is extremely satisfied with achieving his goal. Meanwhile, Captain No goes to see Bo-young's mother. He wants to ask her about the messages she sent to Bo-young on the day of her murder. At that time, she repeatedly apologized to her daughter. Bo-young's mother didn't dare confess her shameful actions to the police chief, so she used work as an excuse to leave. Captain No tried to stop her, making her angry. This only reinforced Captain No's suspicion that she was hiding something. After meeting with Bo-young's mother, Captain No returned to the police station. Unexpectedly, he saw Min-soo waiting there. When he knew that Min-soo had come to confess, Captain No was both surprised and delighted. Meanwhile, Bo-young's mother returned home. At this time, Bo-young's father was preparing to go out. Bo-young's mother suspected her husband had gone to the Mucheon restaurant to meet Byung-moo's father and Min-soo's father. She questioned him, asking if he intended to accept money from them, saying that for years he had used their daughter's death to exploit the villagers' sympathy and had also tormented Jung-woo's mother. Bo-young's mother tried to pretend not to see any of it, but now they knew who the murderer was, so Bo-young's mother refused to let Bo-young's father continue to exploit their daughter's death. Unexpectedly, he directly attacked his wife and then left. Bo-young's mother sat alone, heartbroken. Meanwhile, Jong-woo visited Jeon-oh's grave. Jong-woo didn't dare appear at the funeral because, after the case from 10 years ago was reinvestigated, the villagers all hated him. After visiting Jeon-oh's grave, Jong-woo set off for home. But at this time, he accidentally witnessed an accident. He remembered a detail from the case. Jong-woo's car had a broken headlight due to the accident. This showed that the driver's skills were poor. Jong-woo immediately remembered someone. He was about to go find that person when he coincidentally met Ha-sol. She was curious and wanted to go with Jong-woo. The two set off for Byung-moo's house. Hearing Jong-woo calling from outside, Byung-moo and his father angrily rushed out and started shouting. Jong-woo asks Byung-moo an old question. Does Byung-moo regret what he did? It seems Byung-moo still hasn't realized his mistake. Byung-moo's father also criticizes Jong-woo, saying that Jong-woo is the real culprit. Suddenly, the police arrive and arrest Byung-moo. Captain No announces that Min-soo has changed her testimony. Min-soo says that Byung-moo is the mastermind behind everything. Byung-moo is both surprised and angry. He curses Min-soo as a traitor. In his panic, Byung-moo blurts out, "The real mastermind is Na Gyeom." Everyone is bewildered, especially Jong-woo. Captain No has his subordinates take Byung-moo to the station first. While he stays to comfort Jong-woo, Jong-woo tries to appear calm, but his heart is in turmoil. Captain No pats Jong-woo on the shoulder and says that everything will be alright soon. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Ha-sol returns the bank card to Captain No. At this moment, Jong-woo realized that Captain No was the one who paid his hospital bills. Although Captain No had a somewhat grumpy personality, he was a good person. Afterwards, Captain No drove Jong-woo home. On the way home, Jong-woo received a call from Na Gyeom. She asked him to meet her at a hotel to talk. Going to a girl's room so late at night seemed a bit strange, but Jong-woo still wanted to go because Byung-moo had just said that Na Gyeom was the real mastermind. Captain No also found nothing unusual in Na Gyeom's testimony from 10 years ago. At this point, Jong-woo remembered something else. Jong-woo wanted to ask Captain No to find his car, the car that transported the victim's body. After the case 10 years ago, the car seemed to have disappeared without a trace. It should have been returned to Jong-woo's family. Captain No also found this strange, so he promised to help Jong-woo investigate. Jong-woo could only bow his head in gratitude to Captain No. After dropping Jong-woo off at the hotel, Captain No returned to the police station. He wanted to confirm something, so he went to see Chief Investigator Kim. Captain No took out the USB drive containing the recording of the interrogation from years ago. He told Chief Investigator Kim that a part of the testimony was missing. He didn't know if the camera was malfunctioning or if someone had intentionally turned it off. Chief Investigator Kim immediately reacted, asserting his integrity and claiming he would never coerce a suspect. This statement further confirmed Captain No's suspicions. Jong-woo's confession of murder was due to coercion. Chief Investigator Kim angrily dismissed Captain No. Meanwhile, Jong-woo visited Na Gyeom, much to her delight. However, Jong-woo went straight to the point, mentioning Byung-moo's words upon his arrest. Na Gyeom's face instantly changed color. She recounted how Byung-moo had threatened her. When Na Gyeom started to become famous, Byung-moo used Na Gyeom's crush on Jong-woo to threaten to publicly expose him to the press. A famous actor liking a criminal would damage Na Gyeom's reputation. Jong-woo recalled what happened 10 years ago. Indeed, while Na Gyeom was drunk, she admitted to liking Jong-woo. However, at that time, Jong-woo didn't have feelings for Na Gyeom. Jong-woo temporarily believed Na Gyeom because for the past 10 years, only Na Gyeom believed Jong-woo wasn't the murderer. Jong-woo advised Na Gyeom to move to Seoul and stay away from the troubles in Mucheon, but she insisted on waiting waiting for Jong-woo. Unexpectedly, Jong-woo received a phone call. Captain No gave Jong-woo a reason to leave. However, Jong-woo still had doubts about Na-gyum. Meanwhile, Na-gyum began to feel anxious because 10 years ago, Na-gyum had actually appeared at the warehouse, but she refused to give a statement to the police. Meanwhile, after her son was arrested, Byung-moo's father came to find Min-soo. He questioned Min-soo about why she changed her testimony. Min-soo's father defended his son, leading to an argument and a fight between the two fathers. Min-soo seized the opportunity to escape. Just then, Ha-sol arrived, so Min-soo asked her to drive him to a barbecue restaurant. Ha-sol sent a message to Jong-woo, using the opportunity to subtly question Min-soo about what happened 10 years ago. However, as soon as she asked who had driven Jong-woo's car, Min-soo became furious. Min-soo pulled Ha-sol outside and loudly berated her. In reality, Ha-sol only wanted to verify that Jong-woo was not the murderer. Min-soo became even more resentful, asking why everyone was siding with Jong-woo. Min-soo even tried to hit Ha-sol. Suddenly, Jong-woo appeared. Jong-woo asked Min-soo why she had changed her testimony. Min-soo didn't answer, only confirming that Jong-woo was the one who killed Da-eun. Jong-woo immediately concluded that Min-soo knew Jong-woo wasn't the one who killed Bo-young. Min-soo quickly tried to evade the issue, roughly pushing Ha-sol down before leaving. Jong-woo immediately helped Ha-sol up. Luckily, she wasn't injured. Afterwards, the two went for coffee and talked. Ha-sol felt indignant on Jong-woo's behalf because he had been betrayed by the very friends he trusted. Jong-woo gradually accepted the reality. Although an outsider, Ha-sol promised to help Jong-woo get justice. Jong-woo felt somewhat comforted. He could only thank Ha-sol. The next day, Ha-sol showed Jong-woo a sketch she had drawn from memory of Suo's painting. For Jong-woo, this was an extremely important clue. In the painting, 3 people could be easily identified: Byung-moo, Gino, and Min-soo. However, there was another person wearing a hoodie. Initially, Ha-sol thought it was Jong-woo, but Jong-woo immediately recognized that person as Na-gyum. Jong-woo suspected Na-gyum was still hiding a secret. Meanwhile, Captain No was happy to have personally sent Byung-moo to jail. Byung-moo remained unrepentant. He demanded to call his private lawyer. Captain No ignored him, saying it wasn't his business. He locked Byung-moo in jail and calmly left. Later, the police station was in chaos because of the appearance of a celebrity. It turned out to be Na-gyum visiting Byung-moo. Captain No agreed to let Na-gyum see Byung-moo for a moment. Byung-moo sat down and greeted Na-gyum. She wondered why Byung-moo had said she was the one who orchestrated everything. Byung-moo reminded Na-gyum of what happened 10 years ago. When the 3 friends were struggling to figure out how to dispose of Bo-young's body, Na-gyum suddenly appeared at the warehouse. Initially, she was a little panicked. However, Na-gyum quickly regained his composure. She didn't want this accident to ruin her friends' futures. Min-soo had to become a doctor. Byung-moo had to pass the police academy entrance exam. Jeon-oh couldn't afford to have his father demoted. Although Jeon-oh claimed he did nothing, Na-gyum manipulated him, saying no one would believe him. Finally, Na-gyum proposed disposing of Bo-young's body and cleaning up the crime scene. Back in reality, Byung-moo regretfully said that if he had listened to Jeon-oh and turned himself in, things might not have come to this. Na-gyum turned off the recording device and told Byung-moo that she only cared about their future, yet they betrayed her. Captain No tried to eavesdrop outside but couldn't hear anything. Na-gyum was very good at acting. Immediately after her last statement, she started crying. Her acting skills were indeed not bad. Captain No rushed in to check on Na-gyum. Meanwhile, Captain No had someone restrain Byung-moo. Afterward, Captain No spoke privately with Na-gyum. He questioned why Na-gyum hadn't reported the two from the beginning. Na-gyum explained that they had threatened her, damaging her reputation. Unexpectedly, Captain No received a message from Jong-woo. Na-gyum also glanced at the message. Caught by Captain No, she quickly apologized, explaining that she was a good friend of Jong-woo and hoped Captain No would inform her if anything happened to him. After exchanging phone numbers with Captain No, Na-gyum excused herself and left. No realized this woman wasn't simple. Na-gyum seemed more to be controlling Jong-woo than caring for him. Captain No needed to be more wary of her. At this time, Jong-woo and Ha-sol were putting up banners and distributing flyers, hoping to find witnesses to the car accident that happened 10 years ago. Jong-woo wants to know who was driving his car. However, the 2 people distributing flyers still hadn't gotten any results by noon. Just then, Captain No and his colleagues passed by. Captain No followed Jong-woo's instructions. Captain No deliberately brought Chief Investigator Kim along to see his reaction. As expected, Chief Investigator Kim immediately became angry and demanded that they take down all the banners. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Jong-woo questioned Chief Investigator Kim. 10 years ago, a witness saw Jong-woo's car crash into a lamppost and the headlight shattered. However, this detail was not mentioned in Jong-woo's trial. Jong-woo asked Chief Investigator Kim if he knew Jong-woo wasn't the driver. Chief Investigator Kim immediately denied it, saying the headlight was already broken and there was no accident. He advised Jong-woo not to do unnecessary things and cause a public disturbance. Jong-woo insisted that he had to find out the truth. Ha-sol also sided with Jong-woo. Chief Investigator Kim reminded Ha-sol that Jong-woo was a murderer and that she should worry about herself first. A fight was about to break out between them. Captain No quickly intervened, promising to help Chief Investigator Kim deal with Jong-woo. At lunchtime, Jong-woo, Captain No, and Na-sol went out for lunch. During the meal, Captain No informed Jong-woo that the car he had asked him to find had been returned to Jong-woo's father by the prosecutor's office 10 years prior. Even before Jong-woo's trial had concluded, all three found this very strange. Furthermore, the car was not currently at Jong-woo's house. Ha-sol immediately suspected it might have been sold or taken to a scrapyard. Captain No wanted Jong-woo to find the car's documents so he could go to the scrapyard. Jong-woo had no reason to refuse. Ha-sol also wanted to help Jong-woo. Meanwhile, Bung-moo's father came to visit his son. Byung-moo angrily berated his father for not being able to get him out. His father could only apologize. Seeing Byung-moo hurting himself, the father promised to save his son at all costs. He then went to see the police chief. However, the police chief wanted Byung-moo's father to persuade his son to confess, so Byung-moo would receive a lighter sentence. Byung-moo's father couldn't bear to see his son in prison. The police chief, resentful, said that he himself had to bury his own son. Byung-moo's father then threatened the police chief, saying that if the police chief didn't save Byung-moo, he would turn himself in. 10 years ago, they were all in the warehouse. That night, after Na Jeom offered a solution, she left the three friends to deal with Bo-young's body. While Byung-moo and Min-soo were struggling to move the body, Jeon-oh went upstairs to clean up the scene. Jeon-oh put Bo-young's phone and underwear into his backpack. Then Jeon-oh secretly called his father, but at that time, the fathers were drinking together to comfort the police chief, who hadn't been promoted. Bo-young's father, drunk, started talking nonsense. He claimed that Jong-woo was both talented and from a wealthy family in the area, and that their son, no matter how hard he tried his whole life, could never catch up to Jong-woo. Then Bo-young's father started insulting the police chief, and the two sides argued. Just as Bo-young's father left, the police chief unexpectedly received a call from Jeon-oh. The three fathers rushed to the warehouse to check the situation. Seeing that Bo-young couldn't be saved, the police chief advised his son and his two friends to go home first. The three fathers stayed behind to resolve the matter. Everyone followed his arrangements. Back to reality, the police chief wasn't afraid of Byung-moo's father's threats. He thought no one would believe the other party's words. Bang-moo's father took out Bo-young's bracelet that he had found in the car while transporting the body. The police chief showed disdain. He said that this couldn't be used as evidence. Bang-moo's father, helpless, knelt down and begged. The police chief sat down, considering whether to give Bang-moo's father a chance. After Bang-moo's father left, Chief Investigator Kim arrived to inform him that Jong-woo had distributed flyers seeking witnesses to a car accident 10 years ago. The police chief didn't care about that. He only asked Chief Investigator Kim if he had dealt with Jong-woo's car. Chief Investigator Kim said that he had returned the car to their family. This statement enraged the police chief. He ordered his subordinates to immediately find the car. Chief Investigator Kim believed it was in a junkyard. There was only one junkyard in the area. He called the owner of the junkyard to the police chief's office. Upon arrival, the owner of the junkyard unexpectedly received a call from Captain No, but Captain No was one step ahead of the police chief. The scrapyard owner said that Jong-woo's father had destroyed the car himself. However, the vehicle registration was still there. The scrapyard owner handed the registration to the police chief. The police chief was extremely confused. He wondered why the registration was still there, even after the car had been destroyed. After the scrapyard owner left, the police chief instructed Chief Investigator Kim to quickly cancel Jong-woo's vehicle registration. Then he recalled that he was the one who had asked Jong-woo's father to persuade his son to confess to reduce his sentence. Initially, Jong-woo's father disagreed because there was no direct evidence that Jong-woo committed the murder. Jong-woo's fingerprints were also not found on the murder weapon. However, through his persuasive words, the police chief manipulated Jong-woo's father. Finally, Jong-woo's father followed the police chief's arrangements, and his son ended up in prison. Returning to reality, the police chief had no regrets about what he had done. He drove home and found Bo-young's father causing a commotion outside. It turned out Bo-young's father was looking for his wife. Bo-young's mother had been beaten so badly that the police chief had let her hide inside the house. She didn't dare come out to face her husband. Bo-young's father knew his wife was inside and also knew about her relationship with the police chief. He insisted on entering the house. The police chief, enraged, beat Bo-young's father. Unable to fight back, attack, Bo Young's father threw himself to the ground and feigned injury. Just then, Min-soo's father arrived. Min-soo's father asked his two friends what was going on. Bo Young's father said that the police chief was having an affair with his wife. The police chief was trying to explain when Bo Young's mother came out of the house. She explained on behalf of the police chief. Everyone in the town had witnessed her being abused by her husband, but no one had helped her except the police chief. Min-soo's father was speechless. Bo Young's mother blamed everything on her husband and left. Bo Young's father quickly chased after her to apologize. At this point, only the police chief and Min-soo's father remained. The police chief wanted to go inside and rest, but Min-soo's father couldn't wait any longer because their son had been missing all day. The police chief insisted on ignoring the situation. Suddenly, the police chief received a call. He hung up without answering. Min-soo's father showed contempt. Min-soo's father said that the police chief was still as cowardly as ever. 10 years ago, the three fathers cleaned up the crime scene together, but the police chief was afraid of getting fingerprints on the body, so he didn't touch it. Just as Bo Young's body was being loaded into the car, the police chief received a call from the police chief, ordering him to return to the station immediately. The police chief didn't dare disobey the order, so he entrusted the task of disposing of the body to his two friends. But Byung-moo's father and Min-soo's father were both terrible drivers, so the car crashed into a lamppost. Back to reality, Min-soo's father asked the police chief to get Byung-moo and Min-soo out of jail, but the police chief seemed uninterested. He said it was too difficult and he couldn't do it. After saying that, he turned and went back inside. Min-soo's father didn't know what else to do. Meanwhile, Captain No found nothing at the scrapyard. As he was driving home, he unexpectedly received a call from a stranger. The stranger claimed to have witnessed a car accident 10 years ago. The stranger saw a banner hanging on the road where the accident occurred, and it even had Captain No's phone number on it. Captain No was overjoyed to have another useful clue. He decided to inform Jong-woo. At this time, Jong-woo and Ha-sel were sifting through documents to find papers related to the car. Ha-sel discovered that Jong-woo's family owned a lot of land. Jong-woo had been born into a life of ease, but now his life had been ruined. Jong-woo found letters his mother had written to him during the 10 years he was in prison, but she had simply left them unsent. It turned out his mother still loved him deeply and didn't believe her son was a murderer. However, she was too weak to withstand the criticism and mental torment from the villagers. Jong-woo gradually understood the suffering his mother endured. He never blamed her for abandoning him. By chance, Jong-woo found a box containing a consignment contract at the Mucheon warehouse. The consigner was Jong-woo's father. Ha-sol assumed it must be something very large. Jong-woo immediately informed Captain No, and the two went to the warehouse together. At midnight, Captain No unexpectedly encountered Chief Investigator Kim there. It turned out Chief Investigator Kim had also discovered what Jong-woo's father had hidden in the warehouse. Captain No stalled Chief Investigator Kim to buy time for Jong-woo. Unbeknownst to them, Jong-woo's father had destroyed the fake car 10 years earlier. He still kept the real car there, waiting for the day his son would find out the truth. Jong-woo was extremely grateful to his father. Later, Chief Investigator Kim arrived, but it was too late. Jong-woo decided to hand the car over to Captain No for investigation. Because Jong-woo was the owner of the car, he wouldn't allow Chief Investigator Kim to touch it. Kim turned angrily to Captain No, who remained calm. Captain No explained that he wasn't investigating Jong-woo's case, but rather, the rape case of Bo Young. Coincidentally, the two cases occurred at the same time and location, and the car was also important evidence. Chief Investigator Kim was speechless and could only vent his anger on Jong-woo. He then informed the police chief that the police were taking the car for examination. The police chief was extremely worried. The next day, the police began examining the car. They found 2 shovels in the trunk. This was crucial evidence, but it hadn't been mentioned in the trial years ago. Chief Investigator Kim hid a corner to report to the police chief. Meanwhile, Captain No used a special method to collect the remaining fingerprints on the car. He also didn't forget to encourage Jong-woo, assuring him that everything would soon be clarified. Afterward, Captain No instructed his subordinates to collect fingerprints and take the car to the Forensic Science Institute. On the other side, the police chief remained calm after receiving the call. He had a way to escape punishment. He was also determined to avenge Jeon-oh. He asked Chief Investigator Kim to call Captain No back to the station, while he would contact an acquaintance at the Forensic Science Institute and ask for their help. The police chief then went to Captain No's office and requested a report on the investigation results. Captain No followed the proper procedure. Based on the evidence, Captain No could confirm that Jong-woo was not the murderer. Chief Investigator Kim still insisted that even if Jong-woo didn't kill Bo Young, he was still the one who killed Da-eun, because Da Daowon's grandmother had heard Jong-woo's voice next to her granddaughter. Captain No didn't care about Chief Investigator Kim's words. He only cared about the police chief's attitude. Unexpectedly, the police chief allowed Captain No to continue the investigation. The police chief said that perhaps the investigation from years ago was incomplete. He told Captain No to report back what he had investigated. Captain No felt extremely strange, but he could leave with peace of mind because from now on, the investigation would no longer be hindered. The police chief and Chief Investigator Kim remained in the office. Chief Investigator Kim couldn't understand the police chief's actions. The police chief began to explain that if they tried to stop Captain No, he might make things more complicated. Chief Investigator Kim worried that if the investigation from years ago was indeed flawed, both he and the police chief would be dismissed. The police chief reassured Chief Investigator Kim that if anything happened, he would take full responsibility. Then, the police chief asked Chief Investigator Kim to find witnesses to the accident. Chief Investigator Kim immediately went to carry out the task. Meanwhile, Bo-young's father was cleaning the house. He pretended to show his wife that he was changing, but he still hid the gun in the cupboard. He almost got caught by his wife. Bo-young's mother tried to lure her husband out to buy medicine. Then she took the opportunity to pack up and run away. However, Bo-young's father forgot the money and returned to get it. He discovered that his wife had prepared a divorce petition. Bo-young's mother could no longer endure the beatings. Bo-young's father promised to change, but Bo-young's mother insisted on leaving. Bo-young's father believes his wife was physically abused, but he himself suffered mentally as well. He knows his wife had an affair with the police chief. Because his daughter's body hadn't been found, he had to endure it for 10 years. At this point, the couple understood each other's desires. Bo-young's mother chose to leave. However, Bo-young's father was unwilling to accept this and harbored thoughts of revenge. Meanwhile, Jong-woo went to see Byung-moo to persuade him to confess, but Byung-moo remained unrepentant. Byung-moo claimed that Bo-young willingly had sex with him and even accused Jong-woo of murder. Jong-woo angrily picked up a chair intending to hit Byung-moo, but remembered he was at the police station. Seeing this, Byung-moo provoked him even more. Jong-woo suppressed his anger and went outside. At this moment, Jong-woo received a call from Ha-sol. She had found a witness. Jong-woo immediately went to the cafe. However, Jong-woo discovered that this was just a fake witness. The witness's motive was Jong-woo's reward money. Later, many other witnesses came to the cafe, but each one was only there for the reward. Jong-woo felt utterly helpless. Suddenly, Ha-sol received a phone call. This time, the witness asked her to come to his private residence. Jong-woo and Ha-sol hurried there, not forgetting to inform Captain No. However, when Jong-woo and Ha-sol arrived, they found they were one step behind Chief Investigator Kim. Jong-woo wanted to know what Chief Investigator Kim had said to the witness, but he angrily cursed at Jong-woo. Fortunately, Captain No intervened to mediate. Just then, the witness appeared. He revealed everything Chief Investigator Kim had said. It turned out that Chief Investigator Kim had told him not to testify. However, this man was upright and wanted to tell everyone the truth so that he could have peace of mind. 10 years ago, he accidentally witnessed the accident on the night of the murder. Therefore, he went to the police station to give his statement. The person taking his statement was Chief Investigator Kim. However, several years later, the witness knew that the police hadn't used his testimony. Because of this, Jong-woo was wrongfully imprisoned for 10 years. The man felt extremely guilty. He reaffirmed that the person he saw in the car wasn't Jong-woo, but two older men. However, due to the heavy rain, he couldn't see their faces clearly. Chief Investigator Kim, hearing this, quickly tried to escape. However, Chief Investigator Kim remained stubbornly convinced that Jong-woo was the murderer. Therefore, he refused to let Jong-woo go. Meanwhile, Min-soo went to see Na-gyeom, but the manager wouldn't let Min-soo into the room. Only when Min-soo mentioned Jong-woo did Na-gyeom agree to meet him. Na-gyeom wants to know what happened to Jong-woo. Min-soo hesitantly asks Na-gyeom if he can borrow some money first. Na-gyeom agrees. Min-soo begins to lie, saying that Jong-woo and Ha-sol are dating and that they shared a room last night. Na-gyeom is overcome with jealousy. Just then, the female president enters. She wants Na-gyeom to move to Seoul quickly to prepare for her upcoming schedule. She wants Na-gyeom to put aside the misfortunes of this place, but Na-gyeom refuses to leave. Na-gyeom asks the female president to help her one last time. The female president only manages a forced smile and asks why she would do this for a murderer. Na-gyeom once again insists that Jong-woo is innocent and that she can't live without him. That evening, Jong-woo and Captain No go home to drink and talk. Jong-woo wants to know more about Captain No's life. He knew Captain No had a wife, but he didn't understand why Captain No didn't live with her. Captain No sadly recounted that his wife had been murdered by a criminal on their wedding day. The criminal had been imprisoned by Captain No, and upon release, sought revenge. The perpetrator was subsequently apprehended. Captain No No's hatred for criminals grew stronger, and he mercilessly beat any criminal he encountered. That's why Captain No was transferred to Mucheon. Jong-woo understood why. Captain No had initially hated him so much. The next morning, the police chief visited Bo-young's mother. She said she had decided to divorce and move elsewhere. The police chief had one less thing to worry about. However, Bo-young's mother warned the police chief that she had seen a gun in her husband's closet. The police chief showed no fear. Instead, he devised a different plan. Later, the police chief arrived at Byung-moo's father's house. Bong-moo's father was distraught because he couldn't save his son. He angrily chased the police chief away, but the chief calmly sat down to talk. He advised Byung-moo's father to confess because the police had found Jong-woo's car and 2 shovels. They would soon be able to analyze the fingerprints left on the car. 10 years ago, Byung-moo's father and Min-soo's father took Bo-young's body to an abandoned school. At that time, Byung-moo's father discovered that Bo-young was still alive, but Min-soo's father was very decisive. He used the shovel to hit Bo-young several times, killing him completely. He also forced Byung-moo's father not to reveal this to anyone. Byung-moo's father had no choice. Afterwards, the two of them threw Bo-young's body down the sewer. Back to reality, the police chief was furious that his 2 friends had kept this from him. Byung-moo's father could only apologize. He told the police chief this story hoping he would take pity on his son and save him. The police chief thought for a moment and then told Byung-moo's father to bring Bo-young's bracelet to Bo-young's father. Upon seeing his daughter's bracelet, Bo-young's father was overcome with emotion. He had never been able to do anything for his daughter in his life. He could only give her a cheap bracelet on her birthday. But Bo-young smiled so happily that warmed his heart. He promised himself he would change, but before he could do anything, his daughter was murdered. This shock caused the father to sink deeper into drunkenness. Bo-young's father asked Byung-moo's father how he got the bracelet. Byung-moo's father stammered out the whole story. Bo-young's father was filled with rage. He looked at Bo-young's photos and vowed to seek justice for his daughter. Afterward, Bo-young's father took a gun from the cupboard and prepared to leave for revenge. Meanwhile, Ha-sol saw Min-soo return. She immediately called Jong-woo. Jong-woo told Ha-sol to keep an eye on the situation while he took a taxi there. Min-soo's parents were very worried inside the house. At this moment, Min-soo entered and suggested that the whole family move abroad, but Min-soo's parents insisted that they could still provide well for their son here. Min-soo finally felt a little more at ease. Min-soo said he was hungry, so his father went to cook noodles for him. Suddenly, Bo-young's father stormed into the restaurant with a gun. He questioned Min-soo's father about why he did that to his daughter. Min-soo and his parents were extremely frightened. Just then, Jong-woo and Ha-sol ran over. They persuaded Bo-young's father to stop. At this point, Bo-young's father knew the whole truth. He regretted his actions and apologized to Jong-woo for wrongly suspecting him for so long. Jong-woo said he could endure it, only asking Bo-young's father to think of his daughter and bear with it a little longer, because everything was about to become clear. Jong-woo and Ha-sol were about to persuade Bo-young's father, but Min-soo's father stubbornly insisted on blaming Jong-woo. Unable to control his anger, Bo-young's father shot and killed Min-soo's father. Afterward, Bo-young's father turned and fled. Jong-woo rushed to help Min-soo's father. Jong-woo wanted to know who else was in the warehouse that day. Min-soo's father whispered the police chief's name, but Jong-woo didn't hear clearly before Min-soo's father breathed his last. Jong-woo quickly took out his phone to call the police. At this time, Captain No had arrived at the Forensic Science Institute to obtain the results of the new evidence analysis. The results made Captain No extremely happy. He then brought the analysis results back to the police chief. Captain No asked the police chief if he had been present at the scene that year. The police chief, knowing he had covered all the evidence, confidently denied any wrongdoing. Captain No, unable to intimidate the police chief, handed over the forensic report. Blood belonging to Bo-young was found on the shovel, matching the skull fracture on the body. Fingerprints on the shovel belonged to Min-soo's father, thus confirming Min-soo's father as the murderer. Fingerprints of Byung-moo's father were also found in the car, identifying him as an accomplice. The police chief feigned surprise and ordered Captain No to quickly apprehend the suspect. Suddenly, Chief Investigator Kim burst into the office, announcing a shooting at the Mucheon restaurant. The police chief dispatched Captain No. Later, the police chief received a text message from Byung-moo's father. The message stated that Byung-moo's father had fulfilled his promise and hoped the police chief would keep his word. At this moment, the police chief smiled with satisfaction. Everything was still under his control. Later, the police chief arrived at the Mucheon restaurant with his subordinates. As soon as Chief Investigator Kim saw Jong-woo, he loudly accused Jong-woo of murder, but Ha-sol immediately stood up and said that Bo-young's father was the real culprit. The police chief immediately issued a warrant for Bo-young's father's arrest. Meanwhile, Bo-young's father, having just returned home, immediately called his wife, but Bo-young's mother didn't answer. Bo-young's father left a voicemail for his wife. He recounted everything that had happened to his daughter and also told her that he had avenged Bo-young. He hoped his wife would give him another chance. Later, Bo-young's father heard police cars outside. He quickly closed all the curtains and texted the police chief. Bo-young's father wanted the police chief to come in alone. The police chief decided to comply with Bo-young's father's request. He didn't put on his own bulletproof vest, leaving Captain No to provide backup. Then, the police chief cautiously entered the house. Bo-young's father pointed his gun at the police chief and questioned whether he had witnessed everything that happened that year. The police chief continued to deny it. Bo-young's father threatened to shoot if the police chief didn't tell the truth. The police chief advised Bo-young's father to calm down. Captain No went around to the back door. The police chief subtly signaled that he could handle it himself. He used Bo-young as leverage to persuade the father. He explained that Bo-young's father couldn't raise his daughter properly, and the police chief had helped the family. He also said that he considered Bo-young his own daughter and had no reason to harm her. Hearing these words, Bo-young's father gradually lowered his gun. He painfully realized that he hadn't done anything for his daughter in his life. The police chief embraced Bo-young's father and comforted him. Then, he ordered his subordinates to take Bo-young's father to the station. The situation was under control. At this point, the police chief pretended to be angry and shifted all the blame onto Chief Investigator Kim. He didn't even allow the other party to open his mouth to explain. In reality, everything Chief Investigator Kim did was on the police chief's orders. Captain No knew the police chief was acting, but Captain No remained silent, waiting to see what he would do next. Then the police chief told Chief Investigator Kim to go back to the station to reflect on his actions. He also reminded the other party that it was best not to say anything stupid. Chief Investigator Kim simply obeyed. On the other side, Director Park came to check on Suo's health. The nurse said that Suo had shown no unusual symptoms recently. Hearing this, Director Park left feeling relieved. At this time, Suo continued to draw. He didn't draw on paper, but on the table leg to avoid being discovered. However, Director Park felt something was wrong and returned. He was startled by the painting Suo was drawing. He also discovered that Suo was drawing on the bed. Director Park realized that the paintings all depicted the crime scene from 10 years ago. At that time, Director Park was secretly dating a female student, Dawn, in the warehouse. Suddenly, Dawn took off Director Park's wedding ring and threw it away. Director Park, afraid his wife would find out, rushed to look for it. Just then, Dawn received a call from her grandmother. Unable to find the ring, Director Park turned to scold Dayun. Dayun sarcastically called Director Park a henpecked husband. He angrily called her a money-hungry whore. Dayun threatened to report Director Park to the police for seducing a minor. He lost his temper and hit Dayun on the head with a wrench. Unexpectedly, she died instantly. Director Park panicked, quickly wiped the fingerprints off the wrench, and fled. It turned out that Suo had hidden in a pile of hay all night that year. He had witnessed all the cases unfold. Back in reality, Suo said he knew Director Park was the murderer. Director Park was terrified. He immediately ran back to report to his wife. After seeing the painting, the congresswoman was also extremely worried. She advised her husband to focus on his work and let her handle everything. Director Park didn't dare disobey his wife. Afterwards, the congresswoman went to the hotel to find Najeom. At this time, Najeom was angry because Jong-woo had moved his mother's hospital room without informing her. Seeing the congresswoman appear, Najeom quickly smiled. It turned out that the congresswoman had investigated and found that Najeom was the mysterious person threatening Director Park. The congresswoman found a phone in Najeom's pocket. This was the phone Dawn used 10 years ago. Najeom had used it to send messages to Director Park. Najeom was also the one who sent the ring to Director Park. Najeom found both items at the crime scene. She was also a witness to everything. Furthermore, Najeom recorded everything on her phone. Afterwards, Najeom brought the murder weapon to the female congresswoman's house. When Director Park saw the wrench, he was extremely worried. He hurriedly took the wrench to dispose of it. On the way, Director Park remembered that Da-eun had told him that the warehouse belonged to Jong-woo's family. Director Park immediately came up with the idea of making Jong-woo the murderer. He threw the wrench in front of Jong-woo's house. Only then did he feel more at ease. Back to reality, the female congresswoman asked Najeom why she acted that way. Najeom sat down to negotiate with the congresswoman. Najeom would use his influence to help the congresswoman run for the position of provincial governor. However, the condition in return return was that the female congresswoman had to help Na Gyeom win Jong-woo's heart. The congresswoman could only laugh. She never imagined there could be someone so blindly in love. At this point, Captain No began taking Bo-young's father's statement. Bo-young's father quickly confessed because after all, he had fulfilled his wish of avenging his daughter. Captain No wondered who had told him the truth. Bo-young's father said that Byung-moo's father had told him 10 years ago. The police chief was also present at the drinking party, so he suspected the police chief had witnessed the crime. Captain No then added the police chief to the list of suspects. At this point, Bo-young's father had only one problem left. He felt guilty towards Jong-woo's family because he always believed Jong-woo was the one who killed his daughter. He had always tried to harass Jong-woo's family. Bo-young's father also admitted to being the one who pushed Jong-woo's mother off the bridge. He hoped Jong-woo's mother would wake up so he could have a chance to apologize to her. Finally, Bo-young's father shed a tear of remorse. Then Captain No continued to question Byung-moo's father. However, Byung-moo's father gave a completely different testimony from Bo-young's father. Byung-moo's father said that the police chief did not attend the drinking party. He tried every way to protect the police chief. This made Captain No even more suspicious. He had Byung-moo's father taken away. Then he looked suspiciously at the police chief. Knowing he couldn't escape, the police chief went directly into the interrogation room. Unexpectedly, Captain No even dared to invite the police chief to sit down to give a statement. The police chief again presented a perfect alibi. On the night of the crime, he was with the congressman and the police chief. Captain No had to let it go, but he still didn't believe the police chief. In the afternoon, the police chief held a press conference. He announced a change in the details of the case from 10 years ago. Due to errors in the investigation, the police had incorrectly identified the murderer of Bo-young. The culprit was not Jong-woo, but Min-soo's father. The police chief promised to take full responsibility and bowed in apology to the victim's family. Meanwhile, the female congresswoman, upon seeing the news, immediately called the police chief. She invited him to dinner, which he couldn't refuse. He then went to the meeting place with the congresswoman. She showed him a painting that Suo had drawn. It turned out that the police chief had also been at the scene that year. Knowing the congresswoman was threatening him, the police chief gave her another painting. This painting depicted Director Park hitting Da-eun with a wrench. The police chief even had photos of Director Park and Da-eun dating. However, the police chief stated that these were only indirect pieces of evidence and not enough to arrest Director Park. The police chief once again expressed his desire for a higher position. The congresswoman also hoped the police chief would handle Do-eun's case well. The two reached an agreement. However, the police chief had one condition: he wanted to bring his son home. The congresswoman decided to compromise. The next day, she instructed Chief Park to bring Suo back to the police chief. Originally, the congresswoman wanted to keep Suo hostage, but seeing the police chief's indifferent attitude, she didn't dare take the risk. However, this made Chief Park uneasy. He worried that Suo would reveal the truth. He quickly called his wife to ask about her next plan. The congresswoman told her husband to just do what she had instructed and wait a little longer, and everything would be fine. Chief Park had no choice but to obey. 10 years ago, after killing Do-eun, Chief Park was discovered by the congresswoman. She angrily slapped her husband 3 times. Director Park begged his wife to save him one last time. He promised he would change, but so far, it was just empty promises. The police chief had also brought his son home. He needed to finalize the agreement with the female congresswoman. Afterwards, the police chief advised Chief Investigator Kim to resign. In reality, the police chief wanted to fire Chief Investigator Kim so he could shift all the blame onto him without having to confront him. He even helped Chief Investigator Kim find a security guard job. The police chief showed great concern for his subordinate. However, Chief Investigator Kim gradually realized he was just a scapegoat, but now he couldn't do anything. After Bo-young's case closed, Captain No continued investigating Da-eun's case. He rushed to the Seoul police station to find Da-eun's grandmother. With the help of an old friend, he quickly found the nursing home where Da-eun's grandmother was staying. He played the recording of Jong-woo's voice for Da-eun's grandmother. Then he asked if she had heard that voice during a phone call with her granddaughter years ago. Da-eun's grandmother insisted it wasn't. She had already told the police about it. Captain No was surprised that the police dared to arbitrarily change a witness's testimony. Although Da-eun's grandmother was old, she couldn't possibly forget the voice of the person who murdered her granddaughter. She insisted it was the voice of a middle-aged man with a deep tone similar to that of a teacher. Captain No was extremely confused. He wondered who else might be involved in this case. That evening, Captain No returned home. He found Jong-woo packing his belongings to move out. He told Jong-woo that the police were investigating Da-eun's case. At this point, Jong-woo could only rely on Captain No. Jong-woo wanted wanted to go to the hospital to take care of his mother for a while. Captain No wanted Jong-woo to share his location via a phone app. However, when Captain No checked Jong-woo's phone, he discovered a location tracking app was already installed. Jong-woo's phone was sharing its location with Nagyum. At this point, Jong-woo realized he was being monitored by Nagyum. He wondered why she would do that. Captain No downloaded another location sharing app and connected it to Jong-woo's phone. He also warned Jong-woo to be vigilant, especially with Nagyum, because, according to Captain No's suspicions, Nagyum not only witnessed the case from years ago but also had a bigger secret. The next day, Jong-woo went to the hospital to visit his mother. He saw Bo-young's mother sitting and crying by the bedside. Bo-young's mother regretted what she had done to Jong-woo's family and had come to apologize. Jong-woo didn't blame Bo-young's mother because any mother who loses a child would do the same. Later, Jong-woo and Bo-young's mother went to the funeral. Jong-woo offered a flower to his deceased friend. At this point, Bo-young could finally rest in peace. Outside, Jong-woo met the police chief. The police chief wanted to speak with Jong-woo privately. The police chief admitted his mistake, which had caused Jong-woo to suffer unjustly for 10 years. Jong-woo didn't blame the police chief for that. He only blamed him for not searching for Bo-young's body, leaving her to lie in a dark, cold place for 10 years. The police chief blamed Chief Investigator Kim entirely. The police chief said he had trusted his subordinates too much. However, he acknowledged his own responsibility and promised to continue investigating Do-eun's case and provide a satisfactory answer to Jong-woo. 5 years ago, when Jong-woo's father passed away, the police chief also promised to take care of Jong-woo in his place. But as soon as Jong-woo mentioned the case, the police chief's attitude changed. The police chief asserted that the investigation process was flawless. At this point, Jong-woo didn't know whether to believe the police chief or not. Jong-woo decided to remain silent. Meanwhile, Min-soo's mother was holding her husband's funeral, but no one came to pay their respects. Her son was also in prison. She sat alone. Bo-young's father passed by and felt sorry for her, so he went in to offer condolences to his old friend's family. However, he didn't know what to say when facing Min-soo's mother. Both of them carried unspoken sorrow. Bo-young's father left with the police. He looked at his daughter's photo one last time to gather the courage to pay for his crimes. At this time, Suo went to the glass house. Unexpectedly, there was a secret basement there. The police chief also knew about this basement, but he didn't know that behind the wall there was another room. This is where Suo keeps Do-eun's body. Although Do-eun is dead, Suo only sees her as Snow White sleeping. Every day, Suo comes here to talk to Do-eun. Many years ago, when Jeon-oh and Suo were children, Jeon-oh often went out to explore, while the quiet Suo preferred staying home and painting with his mother. His mother told Suo about the secret room behind the wall and told him to keep his most cherished possessions there. Since meeting Do-eun, Suo has determined that she is the one he loves most. Suo always secretly watched Do-eun, but she never paid attention to him. Only after Do-eun's death could Suo keep her for himself. 10 years have passed, and Do-eun's body has turned into a skeleton, but Suo still cherishes her dearly. At this time, Captain No arrived at the station and discovered that Chief Investigator Kim had submitted his resignation. Captain No burst into the office and confronted Chief Investigator Kim, accusing him of deliberately evading responsibility. Captain No also exposed him for unilaterally altering Do-eun's grandmother's testimony. However, Chief Investigator Kim stubbornly denied it, claiming that all the evidence pointed to Jong-woo as the culprit. No felt ashamed that there were people like him in the force. Captain No directly criticized Chief Investigator Kim, saying he had done everything to force a 19-year-old boy to confess, destroying a person's bright future without any remorse. This was the biggest case in Chief Investigator Kim's life, so he was determined to catch the culprit quickly to gain merit. But at that time, there was only indirect evidence pointing to Jong-woo. Chief Investigator Kim didn't want Jong-woo to get away with it, so he went to ask the police chief for advice. The police chief expressed sympathy for Chief Investigator Kim. Then, the police chief suggested that Chief Investigator Kim only needed direct evidence. Chief Investigator Kim decided to fabricate evidence. He distracted the police guarding the crime scene and stole a pair of shoes from Jong-woo's house. He then poured Bo-young and Do-eun's blood on them and put the shoes back in their original place. In this way, he successfully made Jong-woo the murderer, and Jong-woo was wrongfully imprisoned for 10 years. Returning to reality, Captain No believes that Chief Investigator Kim couldn't have done all of this alone. Someone must have directed him. At this point, Chief Investigator Kim still didn't expose the police chief. He only said that he was merely a tool and a scapegoat in someone else's hands. Captain No was extremely disappointed, but when he went outside, he discovered that Chief Investigator Kim had left him a hint along with evidence that Chief chief investigator Kim had fabricated years ago. Captain No could only sigh. Unexpectedly, he received a message. Seoul police had helped Captain No find a friend of Dawn's. He immediately set off for the location they indicated. That evening, Captain No waited at Dawn's friend's workplace. As she was walking there, a group of people suddenly abducted her and forced her into a car. Captain No noticed and immediately chased after them in his car. At the same time, he called for backup from his teammates. Then Captain No overtook and blocked the kidnappers' car. While his teammates blocked the rear, the kidnappers in the car quickly fled. The police split up to pursue them. Only one kidnapper remained in the car. Using his phone, Captain No dragged him out and questioned him about whose orders he was following, but the kidnapper absolutely refused to speak. The teammate returned to report to Captain No that they had captured the fugitives. At the police station, Captain No interrogated both the kidnappers and Da-eun's friend. The friend recounted that before Da-eun was murdered, she was dating a wealthy man who was the head of a department at a hospital in Mucheon. He had promised Da-eun that if she graduated from medical school, he would cover all her tuition and living expenses. Captain No was about to question her further when a Seoul police officer arrived. She released the kidnappers because the person who ordered them was very powerful. She also advised Captain No to be cautious. Captain No could only sigh. Meanwhile, the female congresswoman received news of the mission's failure. She was extremely worried. She wanted her husband to escape quickly, but Director Park said he still had unfinished business. The female congresswoman immediately became furious. She only wanted her husband to leave immediately before things got more complicated. Director Park could only follow his wife's arrangements. Meanwhile, Jong-woo was at the hospital taking care of his mother. Ha-Sol had been there for several days. Jong-woo advised her to go home and rest, but Ha-Sol said she wanted to stay one more day. Jong-woo happily agreed. Their conversation was overheard by Na-jeom, who became jealous again. She then asked the chairwoman to gauge Jong-woo's reaction. The chairwoman agreed and went to see Jong-woo, offering to take him and his mother to Seoul. However, Jong-woo couldn't agree because he hadn't resolved the situation in Mucheon yet. The chairwoman questioned Jong-woo's feelings for Na-gyeom. Jong-woo explained that during his 10 years in prison, the only friend who visited him was Na-gyeom. Jong-woo had relied on Na-gyeom too much. Perhaps that's why she misunderstood his feelings. Jong-woo assured the female president that he only considered Na-gyeom a close friend and had no romantic feelings for her. The female president told Na-gyeom about this, making her extremely angry. The female president advised Na-gyeom to let go of Jong-woo, but unexpectedly, Na-gyeom dared to insult her. Outraged, the female president gave Na-gyeom an hour to pack her bags and return to Seoul. Any delay would result in Na-gyeom being held fully responsible for breach of contract. Meanwhile, Jong-woo visited Byung-moo's father in prison. Byung-moo's father admitted his crimes and apologized to Jong-woo. However, Byung-moo's father still wanted to give his son another chance. He even asked Jong-woo to write a petition to the court to reduce Byung-moo's sentence. Jong-woo felt deeply wronged. He understood that as a father, his father loved his son very much. But Jong-woo is also someone else's son. At this moment, Jong-woo remembers his father's advice. His father told him that whenever he felt tired, he should return to Mucheon because there were family and friends there who always loved him. But at this moment, Jong-woo realizes he is completely alone in this world. The friends he is closest to have betrayed him one by one. However, there is one thing Jong-woo can never understand: why Na-gyeom deceived him. Unexpectedly, Jong-woo receives a call from Na-gyeom. She asks him to meet her at a hotel to talk. Na-gyeom promises Jong-woo that she will provide evidence to help him clear his name from all cases. Jong-woo is extremely confused, but he still decides to go to Na-gyeom's place. At the hotel, the two sit down and talk. Na-gyeom reminisces about the old days when she was first placed in the same class as Jong-woo. Back then, Jong-woo always radiated the aura of a protagonist. He was handsome, academically gifted, and good at sports. Every girl liked Jong-woo. Na-gyeom was one of them. Since then, she tried her best to study hard, hoping Jong-woo would notice her. But Na-gyeom couldn't get what she wanted. However, when Da-eun transferred to her class, Jong-woo's eyes were completely focused on this beautiful girl. Na-gyeom could only suppress her jealousy. It wasn't until the crime occurred that Na-gyeom realized her chance to have Jong-woo all to herself. So, Na-gyeom helped her friends clean up the crime scene and didn't give a truthful statement at the police station. This led to Jong-woo going to prison. From then on, Jong-woo was like a bird in a cage. He could only meet his owner, Na-gyeom. Na-gyeom thought that after so many years, Jong-woo would be moved and reciprocate her feelings. But unexpectedly, Jong-woo still didn't have any feelings for her. As soon as he was released from prison, Jong-woo became close to Ha-Sol. Na-gyeom misunderstood that the two of them had feelings for each other and couldn't accept it. Jong-woo only wondered if Na-gyeom had witnessed the case from 10 years ago. ago. Unexpectedly, she calmly replied that she knew very well. She also mentioned the video she had recorded. Jong-woo wanted to know where it was. Na-gyum remained stubborn about her love. She said that if Jong-woo went to Seoul with her, she would give him the video so he could end everything. However, Jong-woo resolutely refused Na-gyum. He said that life in Mucheon had taught him one thing: to do everything himself and not trust anyone. Na-gyum sat down disappointed. She pretended to accept and told Jong-woo to drink the glass of water. Then she would give Jong-woo the video. To get the video, Jong-woo immediately drank the glass of water. Na-gyum was extremely satisfied when she saw Jong-woo fall into a coma. The next day, Na-gyum packed her things herself. Much to the manager's surprise, he was delighted, thinking Na-gyum had decided to go to Seoul. But then, he was shocked to find Jong-woo lying on the floor. Noam lied, saying she had held a farewell party the night before. Jong-woo was so upset that she got drunk. She asked the manager to take Jong-woo home. The manager, unsuspecting, followed Na-gyum's instructions. However, she took Jong-woo to the Mucheon restaurant instead. Next, Na-gyum put Jong-woo in Ha-seol's room, then told the manager to go back to the hotel to get his things. Na-gyum's plan was to kill Ha-seol there. After that, Na-gyum would stage the scene and frame Jong-woo, just like 10 years ago. As long as Jong-woo went to prison, he would once again become Na-gyum's caged bird. Later, Ha-seol returned to the Mucheon restaurant. Na-gyum was waiting in the room with a knife. As soon as the door opened, Na-gyum immediately lunged to attack Ha-seol. However, Captain No appeared. He quickly subdued Na-gyum. It turned out that Captain No had been unable to reach Jong-woo by phone earlier, so he went to Jong-woo's house. There, he discovered Jong-woo had left his phone behind. He tried using the location tracking app and found it connected to Na-gyum's phone. Captain No discovered that Na-gyum had moved to the Mucheon restaurant. Suspecting she was with Jong-woo, Captain No immediately came here. Back to reality, Ha-seol checked on Jong-woo and found him all right. Later, when Jong-woo woke up, everything was under control. Captain No asked why Jong-woo was with Na-gyum. Jong-woo immediately remembered the video. Then Captain No and Jong-woo went to the hotel together. They searched Na-gyum's room, but found nothing. By chance, Jong-woo discovered Na-gyum's high school photo album, but it was full of pictures of Jong-woo. Only one picture of Na-gyum, looking gorgeous like a princess, was in the middle. She wanted Jong-woo's life to revolve around her. Behind the picture was a USB drive. Jong-woo and Captain No opened it and watched. It was indeed the video Na-gyum had recorded at the crime scene 10 years ago. Witnessing her lover's murder, Jong-woo was devastated. Captain No comforted Jong-woo. Then Captain No took the video back to the police chief. Captain No suggested to the police chief that the investigation into this case be continued. The police chief had no choice but to let Captain No fulfill his duties as a police officer. Later, Captain No met with the female congresswoman. After exchanging greetings, Captain No got straight to the point. He wanted the congresswoman to demand that her husband turn himself in within 24 hours. Having said that, Captain No stood up and left without saying goodbye. The congresswoman could do nothing. She asked her secretary to locate her husband. Meanwhile, Jong-woo went to the hospital to find Director Park. Jong-woo discovered someone in the director's office. It turned out his mistress was helping him gather money to flee. As soon as she saw Jong-woo, she immediately abandoned the money and ran away. Jong-woo chased after her with the bag of money. Outside, she hid in a car with Director Park. Hearing her say she couldn't get the money, Director Park was furious. Unexpectedly, he received a message from the female congresswoman. She claimed to know all of her husband's actions and demanded he return immediately. Otherwise, she would send someone to find him, making things even more complicated. Director Park kicked his mistress out of the car and hurried away. Jong-woo rushed over but was a step too late. He only managed to catch Director Park's mistress. Jong-woo called Captain No to inform him that he had just seen Director Park at the hospital. Meanwhile, reporters were gathered in front of the police station to cover Na-gyum's case. A female reporter spoke into the microphone, saying that Na-gyum had committed attempted murder. Furthermore, Na-gyum had concealed evidence from a 10-year-old case and used it to blackmail a director for a long time. This director also came from a very powerful family. The female reporter speculated that Na-gyum had received many benefits from the other party. The female congresswoman also saw the news. She had recently sponsored Na-gyum with a large sum of money, intending for him to promote her election campaign. Her vote share had dropped significantly after this incident. She assigned her secretary to handle the matter, as she had many other things to attend to. Later, Director Park returned. The congresswoman advised him to turn himself in to the police station. She said they would still be husband and wife after he was released from prison. But Director Park refused. He didn't want to go to jail. He begged his wife to help him, but the congresswoman remained firm in her position. Director Park began to lose his temper. He couldn't tolerate his domineering wife any longer. He even threatened to confess confess that she was an accomplice and had covered for him, ruining the congresswoman's career. After saying this, Director Park turned and left. Suddenly, an idea popped into the congresswoman's head. She will withdraw from the election to share the responsibility with her husband. In reality, the congresswoman's purpose is to show the people that she loves her husband and is accountable to the law. This way, she can gain greater support. Meanwhile, Jong-woo noticed that the congresswoman's promotional banner had the phone number of Chief Prosecutor Park. Jong-woo dialed Chief Prosecutor Park's number. Upon recognizing Jong-woo, Chief Prosecutor Park was about to hang up. Jong-woo said he would bring the money to Chief Prosecutor Park and only asked him a few questions. Jong-woo assured him that he wouldn't arrest Chief Prosecutor Park and hand him over to the police. Chief Prosecutor Park, now in a difficult situation, agreed to Jong-woo's request. Unintentionally, the conversation was overheard by the congresswoman's bodyguard. That evening, Chief Prosecutor Park rushed to a rest stop. He texted Jong-woo his location. At that moment, Chief Prosecutor Park received a message from the congresswoman. She told him to come back and promised to share the responsibility with him, but Director Park didn't bother to reply. He also didn't know that this message was just part of his wife's plan. Suddenly, a masked man rushed in and drugged Director Park. The assailant took Director Park's phone and sent a farewell message to the female congresswoman. Then, the masked man staged the scene to make it look like Director Park had committed suicide by carbon monoxide poisoning. Later, Jong-woo arrived at the rest stop. He called repeatedly, but Director Park didn't answer. Jong-woo frantically searched and found Director Park's car filled with smoke. Jong-woo quickly broke the car window and pulled Director Park out, but Director Park was already dead. Jong-woo was extremely disappointed because he hadn't yet managed to find Dae-yoon's whereabouts. The police quickly arrived at the scene. They put Director Park in an ambulance and left. A subordinate told Captain No that they had received a notification from the female congresswoman. She received Director Park's last message, but this coincidence was too much of a coincidence, arousing suspicion in Captain No. Captain No requested an autopsy. Later, Captain No took Jong-woo to the hospital after discovering that Jong-woo was also injured. The nurse recognized Jong-woo and immediately gave him good news. Jong-woo's mother had shown signs of regaining consciousness. Jong-woo immediately ran to his mother's room. The doctor examined her, and it seemed she would recover soon. Jong-woo breathed a sigh of relief. Captain No patted Jong-woo on the shoulder to encourage him before leaving. Afterwards, Captain No informed the police chief that Director Park was dead. The police chief ordered Captain No to return to the police station immediately. The police chief was also on his way there. As soon as the police chief arrived, he was immediately surrounded by reporters. Faced with a barrage of questions from the reporters, the police chief was forced to give an explanation. First, the police chief admitted to mistakes in investigating the case from 10 years ago. When reporters began to shift to questions related to the female congresswoman, the police chief immediately tried to evade them, claiming he needed to conduct an investigation. Captain No went straight to the police chief's office. The police chief asked Captain No what he thought about the case of Director Park. Captain No argued that it wasn't simply an end to his own life and requested an autopsy. The police chief had no reason to refuse. Captain No immediately left and proceeded with his work. Afterwards, the police chief called the female congresswoman. She knew the police chief had secretly met with an opposition congresswoman. The police chief readily admitted it. He didn't want to be dragged down along with the congresswoman. At this point, the congresswoman wanted one last favor from the police chief: to quickly conclude her husband's case so she could arrange his funeral. The police chief pretended to understand and hung up. However, he threw away all the mementos he had with the female congresswoman. The next morning, Jong-woo went to the hospital. He was overjoyed that his mother had regained consciousness, but it would take some time before she could function normally again. She didn't care about her own condition. She only asked Jong-woo if everything was over. Jong-woo told his mother that Bo-young had been found, but the police hadn't yet discovered Da-woon's body. However, Jong-woo believed that the results would come soon. Jong-woo's mother knew what her son had gone through. She could only encourage him to try to overcome it. Meanwhile, the female congresswoman was using her husband's death to orchestrate her election campaign. She wanted to use the people's pity to get the position of provincial governor. Although she no longer had feelings for her unfaithful husband, the congresswoman still had to act convincingly. The rally was underway. In front of all her supporters, the female congresswoman promised to take full responsibility for her husband's actions. She wanted to protect the country's laws and simultaneously criticized the shortcomings and misconduct of the police. The congresswoman declared that she would be the representative of justice. Then she began to feign tears to express her grief for her deceased husband. She begged the people to forgive chief Park, saying that he had already paid for his crimes. The people were quickly deceived. They showed sympathy and support for the congresswoman. At this moment, the police chief returned home. He heard noises in the greenhouse. The police chief tried to find his son, but he wasn't in the basement. He could still hear Suo's voice nearby. Only then did the police chief realize the voice was coming from behind the wall. He tried to break down the door and finally managed to get inside. Seeing his father, Suo was terrified. He stood in front of a skeleton. The police chief wondered what it was. Suo repeatedly insisted that no one should harm Daeun. The police chief quickly understood the situation. The skeleton was Daeun, who had been missing for so long. The police chief grabbed Suo and questioned why Daeun was there. Suo panicked and tried to run away. The police chief was about to call his subordinates, but he quickly changed his mind. No one knew Daeun was there, so everything was still under his control. Meanwhile, Jongwoo visited Minsu in prison. Because her father had died, Minsu had lost all hope. Now, all Minsu could say was, "I'm sorry." Minsu revealed a secret to Jongwoo. The police chief was also present at the scene, and he was the one who orchestrated everything. From how they gave their statements, how they kept secrets, to how they manipulated each other, everything was meticulously planned by the police chief. Jongwoo fell into deep thought because Minsu's words perfectly matched what had happened. Jongwoo decided to go see the police chief. On the way, he accidentally encountered Suo. Suo rushed to Jongwoo, begging him to protect Daeun. It took Jongwoo a moment to understand. Jongwoo wanted to know where Daeun was. Then, Jongwoo hurried to the basement. Jongwoo discovered the police chief trying to erase the evidence. Jongwoo immediately rushed to stop him. Jongwoo knelt down beside Daeun's body and wept. The police chief began to manipulate Jongwoo. The police chief had lost Jeonho, so he couldn't let Suo go to jail for hiding the body. If Jongwoo would just let this go, everything would be over. The police chief promised to compensate Jongwoo. At this point, Jongwoo became furious. It was clear from the beginning that the police chief knew everything. The police chief knew Jongwoo wasn't the culprit, but still sent him to prison. He explained that because Gyonho was involved in Bo Young's case, he did it to protect his son. Then came Daeun's case. Daeun's body was missing, making Jongwoo the prime suspect. The police chief decided to combine the two cases. If Jongwoo really killed Daeun, then another crime wouldn't matter. For years, the police chief had hoped Jongwoo was indeed Daeun's killer. Jongwoo collapsed to the ground in anguish. The police chief said he was thinking of his son. But what about Jongwoo's parents? They had to accept their son as the murderer. Jongwoo's father single-handedly supported the family and died prematurely. Jongwoo's mother lived under public scrutiny for 10 years. Meanwhile, the police chief always acted friendly and kind to them without any shame. Knowing he couldn't reason with Jongwoo, the police chief hit Jongwoo down with a stick. Then he set fire to Daeun's body. Suddenly, Suo ran in. The police chief couldn't stop his son in time. Luckily, Jongwoo managed to grab Suo. Otherwise, Suo would have rushed into the fire with Daeun. Jongwoo took Suo outside. The police chief took the opportunity to close the door. He decided to end his life there to escape his guilt, but Jongwoo wouldn't allow the police chief to do that. Jongwoo angrily broke down the door and dragged the police chief out. He had to live to pay for his crime. Finally, all secrets were revealed. All the evildoers received their deserved punishment. Najom committed attempted murder and concealed evidence, but she was driven mad by love and admitted to a psychiatric hospital. The female congresswoman became a suspect in her husband's murder. Her political career ended abruptly. It turned out the police had found anesthetic in Director Park's body. Meanwhile, Ha-Sol went to the University Medical Hospital for an internship interview. Previously, she had been suspended from school for reporting a surgeon's improper surgical procedures that led to a patient's death. The professor asked Ha-Sol what she would do if that situation happened again. Ha-Sol said that if she had the choice again, she would still do the same. Having spent time in Mucheon with Jongwoo, she knew resilience and faith in justice. Even if threatened by power and money, the truth would eventually be revealed. Ha-Sol bluntly stated that she was suing the hospital along with the patient's family. The professor could only sigh helplessly. He reluctantly allowed Ha-Sol to continue her studies at the university. With the help of Captain No, Jongwoo found a good lawyer. Thanks to this, Jongwoo successfully cleared his name in court. The judge declared Jongwoo's criminal record expunged. By this time, Jongwoo's mother had also recovered and had no regrets about Mucheon. Jongwoo and his mother decided to move to Seoul, bringing Suo with them. Mucheon still held many memories for them. A month later, Jongwoo decided to return to school, choosing medical school. He coincidentally met Ha-Sol there, who was now his senior. From then on, Jongwoo could live his life peacefully. The film ends here. Thank you for your interest and for watching. Goodbye, and see you again.